Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino here, and boy, do we have some special coverage for you here today because we are going to explore a topic that, let me just set the stage here for you. Back in May, we were talking with the great Mike Bloom, and we were talking about Denise Stapley's Endure and Let Go tattoos. Mike Bloom said, at the time we were raising money for directrelief.org, raising money for PPE for doctors and nurses. Mike said if the GoFundMe got to a certain level, $23,000 total between GoFundMe and new patron contributions at the time, we were accepting people who wanted to be a patron and donating that money with a matching contribution from Rob as a podcast. And we had raised over $21,000. Mike Bloom said, if we get to $23,000, I will get a survivor tattoo. And lo and behold, that money was raised. Mike Bloom did it. And now we are talking about the potential tattoos that will go into a BrantSteele to compete to be the tattoo that gets put on Mike Bloom's body. Let's give it up for the man of the hour. Here he is, the great Mike Bloom.
You know, Rob, usually I'm someone who is excited to come onto any and all podcasts. I have to admit, there's a pang of remorse here, just a pang, and that pang may grow more and more as we explore the ideas that people have submitted as to what will be inked on my body permanently.
Okay. All right. So we are here with Mike, and then we are also here with a woman who has done a ton of work to go through many, many submissions and we curate them and get them here that we can talk about potentially the tattoos that will be in the field of up to 20 to potentially go on to Mike Bloom's body. She's best known for podcasting about The Amazing Race and The Walking Dead and Star Trek and Killing Eve, but she also has podcasts about Ink Master. Please welcome the great Jessica Liese. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rob, but I gotta say, if Mike Bloom really didn't want to get a tattoo put on his body, maybe he shouldn't have made the goal $23,000 when you had already raised $21,000.
Right, look, I'm not great with numbers, okay? As a survivor expert, admittedly, when it gets into the thousands, I can only really count up to like 13 at most nowadays on Survivor.
Look, man,
Okay.
I've got a humanities degree too, and I saw those numbers very clearly. I thought, this is a boy that is dying for some ink. And I'll be honest, I got an RHAP themed tattoo when we had raised $0 for anything. And Mike Bloom's announcement that he was going to get a tattoo got 4 times as much reception than my actual tattoo that I got for no outlay from the patrons. So, I know that everybody is very excited about this, and I think secretly Mike is the most excited.
Okay.
We should also just point out, like, as Jess mentioned, and needs to be said time and time again, I mean, Jess is our ink expert here. Not only has she, reported on Ink Master. Ink Master is one of her favorite shows. She is also a tattooed person herself. Much more recently, as she mentioned, getting the RHAP bell tattooed on her wrist. It is absolutely lovely to see both in person and on social media. So we couldn't think of a better person, more qualified person to bring in here and really just prepare me for what the hell I'm going to be in for in so many ways.
Okay.
Yeah, like, honestly, Mike, I didn't realize how needed this kind of knowledge base was until we started getting the suggestions. And as you'll see, you're going to learn a lot, I think, throughout this process. We're all going to learn a lot about the process of getting tattooed and some do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
And what is a reasonable tattoo?
Twos and tones.
Yes. The tattoos and tones. I think we're all going to learn a lot today.
Yeah. This is very exciting because I don't know much about tattoos. I don't know a lot about many things, but tattoos is certainly not an area that I know a lot about. I am not inked yet as of this point, but I'm excited to get the education here. Glad you are here to hold our hands through this experience, Jess.
This is, if I get anybody excited about getting a tattoo after they listen to this, apart from Mike, who is already excited, I think I will have done a public service. And Rob, how much money are we going to have to raise before you get a tattoo? That's my question.
$24,000.
Yeah, no, we've raised over 25. We'd have to claw back money, Mike. Okay. All right. But that's not what we were here to talk about, Jess. We're here to talk about Mike Bloom and his tattoos. And we're doing this. Okay. So we have a PowerPoint presentation open. We're recording the video. We'll upload the video to robhasawebsite.com/YouTube, our YouTube channel, where you can watch along to see the visual, because I'm sure that we will do our best to describe, like I've done with undergarments on other podcasts, to give a visual representation. But I will try my best to describe each tattoo as we go through. And could we just talk a little bit about the format here today? Just how do you envision this working?
Well, here's how it's going to work, Rob. We're going to we're going to lay some groundwork here. I'm going to talk you through how the submission process worked. And we're going to talk about some of our honorable mentions that didn't make the cut. And then we're going to go through and we're going to look at, I have 36 slides prepared with different visual representations of tattoo ideas that people have suggested that are somewhat reasonable. And we will go through, and as we look at each design, we will decide if it's going to Samoa or Hell Noah.
Okay. Mike, have you already done a pass and vetoed many of the things that were submitted from the listeners?
Well, A. Bloom did it, I suppose.
Okay. But did you see them? Like, are you being surprised?
I've taken a look, because here's the thing is that, some people have had the creativity and the outright gumption to, even before we sort of officially launched this Google form that collated all these responses, reached out to myself, you, Jess as well, using the hashtag BloomTats that Jess so craftily created, with some ideas, maybe even some designs. So some of those are going to be brought in as well. So I'd say, like, if that's the tip of the iceberg, I have a general sense as to where this is going. But yeah, as I just mentioned, all of this, the final responses were won by my lovely wife and 3-time tattoo recipient herself,
Ooh.
Angela Bloom, who had, her own feedback as well, I'm sure similar to Jess, as to the importance of tattoos that I didn't necessarily realize beforehand. So she gave a pass to these as well, and these are the ones that she was able to at least stomach, at least a portion of her stomach, I should say.
Most of them.
Okay.
There are a few that she had a hard no on, but I think if we work on the idea and finesse it a little bit, we can probably get it past her. And I'm hoping we don't have another one of these Baby Rowan scenarios where we end up getting you something totally different. But, if we do, we can probably get somebody else to get the design that wins. So, just like Baby Rowan.
Okay.
The baby that was supposed to be named Rowan was born. He was named something else. And so then shout out to my girl, Kelsey, who had a baby boy and named him Rowan. She took one for the team. And so we had a baby Rowan come into the world because of RHAP. It was destiny.
Yes.
And so just as that came to pass, if Mike's wife rejects our final winning submission after the BrantSteele goes through, somebody else will get that tattoo and Mike will get something else.
Okay. But Mike is going to have a sense of what Angela is going to say yay or nay to.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And Angela has left some good comments that I'm sure we will get to as we go through.
Okay. Now, just to also clarify, if anybody else is confused, so what is going to happen is that we are going to get down to a pool of 16, 18, 20, who knows, maybe 24. And we are then, these tattoos will be competing in a BrantSteele season of Survivor, with the winning tattoo being the one to go to Mike's body. Now, Mike, that one of the suggestions that I had received here over these last couple of weeks is, should the tattoos themselves be competing, or should the tattoos be matched up with, whether it's Survivors or some other thing, and then a la Deal or No Deal, that when each elimination, we open the suitcase and see which tattoo they were playing for.
See, that's interesting, but I feel like there are stakes that are removed in that anonymity, right? If we're doing like the mass tattoo, I feel like there's going to be a cast here where I think we're all going to have favorites and least favorites. I don't want to remove that drama and just sort of assuming, okay, go person
this
2.
This is your tattoo and your BrantSteele season, so we will follow your lead.
And look, if you've checked out my Lost podcast, and you know I'm far from wary of putting random and outright inanimate ideas into a BrantSteele. So I am more than happy to plop these tattoos in there.
Okay. Also, another question that I've received, Mike, is the part of the body that you are getting tattooed on, is that up for debate, or do you have an area that you have already marked off?
Well, Rob, I can answer that for you.
Yes.
Mike is allowed to choose where on his body he gets the tattoo for reasons that we will explicate later on. But go ahead, Mike, and explain your own take on this.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that I think there are certain designs that I think would be appropriate to certain parts of the body, and there are others that might be in more general spots. I also, there's an entirely different aspect of this, which will be the actual process of getting the tattoo, and I'm led to believe that there are more areas of the body that are more painful to get tattoos on than other places.
Can confirm.
Yeah, there are also aspects of the fact that there's hopefully an aspect of employability after this tattoo as well, which depending on the design, it might need to be obscured.
But think of the RHAP job security. That's, Jess is the front runner in that department.
It's true. You can't fire me now.
Yeah.
That's the ironclad contract. Exactly. It's signed in ink, quite literally. So that's sort of my thinking, is that I'm sure some pitches were made with specific parts of the body, and I will certainly take that. But I think I also reserve the right to put it on an area that feels appropriate to both the environment and also the level of pain that I am accustomed to experiencing.
Fair enough. Jess, is there anything else that we need to set the table today?
I don't believe so, Rob. There are some different talking points that we'll get to as we proceed through the PowerPoint, because as you can see, my hours at my day job got cut by 50%. So as you can see, I kind of missed that sort of office pattern of giving the PowerPoint presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go through this, things will come up that we will want to talk about.
Yeah, this is the most anxious I've ever been about a PowerPoint presentation in my life.
Also, I just want to add, we are not doing the BrantSteele today in this podcast. That is going to be a separate podcast that we will have on the network soon.
Yes, we want to make sure we get everything prepared.
Just casting today.
Exactly. We're trying to have this be a little aperitif, This is our casting special, really, to figure out who's going to fill this out, and then we will get together another point in time, maybe bring in some other special guests to check out the mayhem that will surely ensue. Because at this point, this is the most power we have. Right? The BrantSteele, we are letting go of the reins and hoping this horse takes us in a relatively okay direction.
Yeah, right now we are all future and no past, as they say at the top of spring training. And I had one question for you, Rob, actually. You mentioned we could select up to 24 designs. Am I correct in assuming that if we ended up unable to choose and we had 24 designs that we thought were workable, would we have to do a Hunger Games BrantSteele?
No. I think we would do Australian Survivor if that was the case.
Okay.
We may have to invite Shannon Gates in at that point. It might be a crowded podcast booth.
It's just going to be Shannon yelling at me for this decision the entire time.
Well, it would be Mike with all of his podcast co-hosts. We could get Josh at that point, basically everybody that Mike co-hosts a podcast with. We get them in here for seeing Mike off to his tattoo.
I think I'm the only one that fully supports this decision for you, Mike.
I appreciate that. I'm
also that, the only one that has a lot of tattoos.
Exactly. That's another reason is look, if someone has, especially an RHAP affiliated tattoo, I realize I am not alone in this pursuit. So Jess, even just for moral support, I am so happy you're here. And I guess before we get into it, one question I want to ask you is what makes a good tattoo? If there's a rubric by which we're casting here, in your opinion, what should we be looking for in terms of qualities?
Well, that's a good question, Mike. I think in terms of a good tattoo, you really don't want a hugely complicated design. And we're going to get into some of the complicated designs that were submitted because some of them were great. They're just not going to work for what you want. You want something, I think, especially for your first tattoo, you're not going to want something that is going to take you all day to get. You're not going to want a full sleeve or a full back piece or something you're going to have to go back a bunch of times. You want something fairly simple. You want it legible. You want it to you know what? You want people to be able to tell at a glance what it is. Although I will tell you, Mike, something that I think it may vary for different people, but I will tell you that the only person who cares more about your tattoo than you is your wife. Throughout your life, nobody's going to ask you about your tattoos. It might happen. Like I get asked about one of mine maybe once every 6 months. And other than that, it's like, it's become such a common thing. I think 40% of the adult population now has a tattoo in the US. And it's not really a thing that people bring up a whole ton in conversations. So if you have something that's kind of weird looking, people may be curious. Their curiosity may be piqued, but very rarely is somebody going to directly ask you to explain your tattoo to them. Like it's about as often as people want to hear about your dreams and your BrantSteeles.
Jess, can I ask you the tattoo etiquette? That is it inappropriate to ask somebody about their tattoo? That this was on this past season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David asked his assistant about her tattoo, and she was offended.
I don't think so. Not if it's genuine curiosity and
there was actually a number of other things that he had done that she was offended by, but that was one of the things in the list that she was offended by.
Yeah, I have a feeling that if you are Larry David, that's going to be the least of your concerns. But I think if you have somebody that you're having a conversation with and you're getting to know that person and they have a visible tattoo that intrigues you, there is no reason not to ask them about it, but not in any kind of judgy way. Like the thing I hate, and it's more of a boomer thing, because the generation before us, if you had a tattoo, you were probably a sailor and that's about it. So you get a lot of boomers being like, how could you do that to your body? And that's no fun. Like, don't ask about it that way.
Don't do that.
Be like, that's really cool. I was looking at your tattoo. What does it say? What is that of? Why did you get that? That's interesting. I think that's totally okay.
Okay. All right. So anything else we want to set up?
I think we have set up enough, and let's proceed to the first slide.
All right. So we have the PowerPoint presentation. We're all looking at the same thing. Let's go ahead, and I think if I just click on this. Okay. Oh, some fun stats.
Fun stats. One of which you didn't give me, Rob, so I'm going to turn it to you for a moment.
Well, I thought you were going to ask me for it, and that I was gonna have it.
Well, now I'm asking you for it.
Yeah. So over $25,000 was raised by the support of the new RHAP patrons, my matching contributions, and then $14,720 was raised by a GoFundMe account that was from either existing patrons or listeners of the podcast who submitted. That money went to directrelief.org.
That is fantastic.
Amazing.
And I just want to say thank you to all the listeners again for kicking into this. And not just because it's creating an evening of fun for the three of us. I think it's just wonderful, and it's just a testament to the power of what you've created, Rob. I'm so proud of us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I was glad that we were able to do it during that time of need when it was looked like that was going to be a real shortfall in terms of what doctors and nurses needed back in April and May of this year. So really appreciate all the support of the patrons.
Completely. And look, as much regret as I might feel after the fact about the idea, the thing that really made me invest in it initially is this idea that, no matter what is on my body, I can look back and say, this helped raise more than $25,000 for people who are on the front lines and putting their life on the line every day to save others. And so it's a fantastically noble cause. Thank you, Rob, for putting that out there. As someone who I know, this cause is very directly related to your family, and also to everybody who put in for whatever reason it may be. It really is felt in so many ways.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I mean, it's really interesting, Mike, how every tattoo that I've gotten has been kind of a reminder of a time in my life. Like I don't think about it as I have to look at this for the rest of my life, and so I have to be okay with it for the rest of my life. It's like, this is like a souvenir of how I felt and where I was at a particular time in my life. And I feel like this tattoo for you is going to be the same thing. And every time you look at that, it's going to remind you of what we did as a group. And I think that's really great and powerful. So, yeah, without further ado,
you moved Mike to tears, I think.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm
Mike
really
was
excited.
Speechless for the first time ever, John,
in my life, and that'll be the other
podcast.
tattoo that I get to accommodate that memory. I'm just very excited because I mean, here's the thing. Will 2021 be a year we look back on fondly? Absolutely not. But I mean, I know I'm not apparently going to be often telling this story to people, but if I do, it's a hell of a story.
It's true. It's true. So the way that this worked, once it was confirmed that this was something that Mike was going to be going through with, we had created a hashtag. I think DJ LaBelle Klein was the one who coined the hashtag BloomTats, and I was very bored. So I began sketching out ideas and just putting them up on Twitter whenever I felt like it, and people followed suit. We had a lot of great submissions on Twitter, and if it had stuck to Twitter, I think Mike would have been happy with just about anything we picked. But we also wanted to make sure everybody that wanted to weigh in could weigh in, so we created a Google form at the beginning of this week, and within 24 hours, we had gotten 140 responses to the Google form.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how much people care about this, Mike. So between that and between all the social media suggestions, we had well over 150 different ideas that, some of them were more different than other ideas. And so once I winnowed it down based on what I thought was feasible and what was tasteful, what I thought came from somebody that cared about Mike and wanted him to have a happy rest of his life with a tattoo, we got down to 50 plus workable, unique suggestions. And after that, it was time for Angela to take a look and tell us what she thought about, is there anything that she definitely 100% ruled out? And she said, honestly, I would just veto every single one of these because they're all terrible and I don't want Mike to get them. And I said, you can't do that. And so she gave some very real objections, and I took those into account when I narrowed it down to the 36 designs in the slideshow that you're about to see.
Okay. All right. You ready?
Yep. We're gonna go to the honorable mentions next.
Okay, honorable mentions.
Yeah,
okay.
some people who submitted some fun stuff, but maybe just not right for a tattoo for me at the moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's go ahead and see some honorable mentions. Okay. These are rejected ideas, tattoos that survivors already have. Okay, so we have a bunch of different pictures of people. So people submitted to you, Jess. Hey, how about this tattoo that's already on this other reality TV contestant?
Yes, we got a lot of those, and some of them were riffs on famous survivor tattoos. Like, for instance, the Michael Yerger tattoo that you see pictured here is a very tiny, tasteful script that says "On My Honor."
Yeah.
And someone suggested that Mike should get this tattoo, but instead of honor, it should say "On My Jervis." Which, it's a great idea. It made me laugh a lot. And other people said, like, here we have the general.
Yes.
He has a tattoo of what looks like a law enforcement officer of some sort, and it says "The General" in script underneath.
It looks like Captain Crunch.
He kind of does. He looks like Captain Crunch crossed with the cop from The Village People.
Mm-hmm.
But is
it a real person or is it a dog? I can't make that out on his arm.
It's a low res photo. We also said somebody suggested that you should get Philip Shepard's gorilla on one arm and lion on the other arm.
That would be pretty cool.
Yep. I thought it would be great, but it's also, again, many of the suggestions we got were just like they would require Mike to sit in a tattoo chair for 12 to 24 hours, and that is not what we want for your first tattoo, Mike.
And also, I feel like as much fun as, I mean, listen, as a Survivor historian, I love the echoes to Survivor history, whether it's the ones that were mentioned before, Zane's Frankenstein tattoo, or even more recently, Ben Driebergen's mysterious Egyptian figure on his chest. But it would feel a little, I don't know, I would not want my first tattoo to be a copy of someone else's tattoo. You want it to be original enough, and I wouldn't want to feel like it's an unintentional homage to somebody else.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. And also, I think tattoo artists would mostly balk at you bringing in a photo of somebody else with a tattoo and saying, give me the tattoo that this person has.
Right, it's not a haircut.
It's not a haircut.
Yeah. I'm getting a better look at the general tattoo. No, it definitely is a human, but he's got sort of like a riding crop in his hand. It's a little 50 Shades.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So
Oh
we're
my
looking at like
goodness.
Dominatrix Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they call him the General.
Also, so you thought he was like a Scruff McGruff that the General got tattooed on his bicep?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I mean, someday we're going to have to do a special on the best Survivor tattoos.
Oh, okay.
I think there are many that are not even on this screen.
Yeah, luckily, nobody said Kyle Jason's air freshener right below his armpit.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said that they would start up a collection to get for you to get every tattoo that Kyle Jason has. And I hope they're not serious about that, because I think there's no amount of money in the world that would make that okay.
Just how much does a tattoo cost? Is a tattoo expensive?
Tattoos are fairly expensive, Rob. Like, as a hobby, like the reason that you don't see people with many more tattoos is frequently a matter of cost.
Yes.
Depending on where you are in the country and how experienced your artist is and the quality of the work they do, you can expect to pay anywhere from $100 to $500 an hour for the privilege of getting a tattoo. And a tattoo is typically going to cost you, it's going to take you a minimum of an hour, no matter what you're getting.
Yes.
The tiniest tattoos are about an hour. And then, like, if you were getting a full sleeve, for instance, that'd probably take you at least 2 to 3 8-hour sessions.
Right. So it makes sense why Casey had to wait until after she won Big Brother to get that giant Nintendo controller tattoo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to note from the submissions we got, one of the most popular suggestions that we got from the listeners was that Mike should get some sort of variation on Tony's tattoo, because Tony is the only, he's one of two-time winners, and he's the winner of the winners. And so the tattoo is obviously like the winning tattoo. I'm not sure how that follows, but that's a lot of black ink, and it's a very large tattoo, and we could scale it down and put it somewhere else, I guess. But tribal tattoos, not the most respected tattoo on the block.
Okay.
Not for Mike Bloom especially. I don't know if it sort
you
of
love
works.
tribal council.
It sort of works for Tony, and again, your mileage may vary. Any sort of ounce that it might work is diminished when it's put on my body.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, your wife said she doesn't even think it works on Tony, and I happen to agree with her there. The one thing I did think would make that tattoo a workable option, but Angela said no, and she felt very strongly about this one. Somebody suggested getting Sandra's tiara perched atop Tony's tribal tattoo to celebrate both of the two-time winners. And I thought that was a very clever twist on that and could work. But
where would it go?
Anywhere you like, Mike.
What's the top of this thing?
I think that, where the 2 points come up Tony's neck, I think we could make that the top of the thing. I didn't have time to sketch it out, and I was kind of waiting to see if I'd have to sketch it out. And because we're not using it, I don't.
Well, listen, if it's two-time winners, maybe if I'm a two-time tattoo person, maybe that'll be my second tattoo.
Mike,
well, let's see what crisis we have to raise money for next.
Please don't tempt fate, Just. What I do want to say, though, is that, Mike, that you are such a good sport about this, that Rob has a podcast will 100% pay the cost of this tattoo. Okay?
Oh, my God. Thank you.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
You absolutely do not need to do that. That is greatly appreciated. I don't need you to tattoo on my honor.
Throw in money for dinner for Angela also for being a good sport for this. Okay, so
I'm willing to kick in for a gift certificate so that Angela can get another tattoo as well.
Whoa,
that'd be fun! Like a little couples tattoo session that might help. Any sort of result come down a little bit faster for her.
That's what I'm thinking, and I think it's also like, I don't know if you were with her when she got her last one. But she could get one, and you could kind of see what it's like. It's not as bad as people are insinuating it is, but, watch somebody else get one first.
Yeah, and ask Angela if she might be up for having 16 tattoo suggestions compete in a Big Brother simulation.
I already know the answer to that.
And we'll just use the runoffs from this one, right?
Yeah.
It's like putting Brad Culpepper on Game Changers. Is that tattoo version?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
So our next set of rejected ideas that I want to talk about here. Many people suggested that Mike should get the word survivor tattooed across his knuckles, Charlie Pace style. Or I think, is it?
It took me a while to realize how many letters were in Survivor in the first place to think if that would actually work. But indeed it does. It's 8 letters.
Yeah. Could you make other words from Survivor by, I mean, it might help Asher learn his letters.
What, you mean if I make like an anagram out of it?
Yeah.
Like if I arrange my fingers in a certain way and make Survivor.
Yeah. Let's see. You could make not many other words.
Wasn't there a challenge about this in Pearl Islands?
Yeah,
maybe
like how many letters?
I hope Burton's not going to help me with that. I'll get Dara to help me instead of Burton because he lost immunity on that one. There's not many anagrams for Survivor. You could make virus, which makes sense given the circumstances behind the tattoo.
Yeah, but you'd have to be moving your fingers around in unnatural ways to be able to. Again,
listen, it's a way I can also take up doing some weird finger actions while also getting a tattoo. But yes, nice. I'm fine putting the credits.
Yeah, 4 of the letters are always going to be very close to the other 4 letters, so it's going to be hard to really rearrange things.
Right, people are going to be like, "Who's Ivor?" And I'll have to explain it.
Yeah, it's not a great. It's a funny idea, but it's not a great idea for something that goes on your body forever. And the idea was originally popularized by the movie The Night of the Hunter, where he had this kind of creepy evil guy who had love and hate tattooed on his hands. And that's something that a lot of people get, like whether or not they know it's a homage to this. But one thing about hand tattoos, a couple of things. Number one, they don't last very long. Like the ink is going to fade pretty quickly. Like in a few years, it's going to look kind of blown out and weird. Number two, it hurts a lot. This is not a rookie tattoo move. And number three, for that reason, because it's not really a rookie tattoo move, there's a lot of artists that won't give you anything past your wrist as your first tattoo. Just because they want you to know what you're getting into. They want you to be able to handle the pain and understand how long the ink is going to last. And also, I think anything past your wrist also does have potential ramifications on your employability. So for those reasons, people that suggested things like putting a tattoo across your knuckles, we automatically threw those ideas out.
Okay. All right. So no Charlie Pace, love, hate, Survivor.
Well, I'm afraid of open water, but I would be even more hesitant to go swimming if I got something in honor of Charlie Pace.
What about not Penny's boat on your hand?
I'd have to get more fingers
on the inside of his hand. Yeah. Okay. All right. Ready for the next slide, Jess?
Yes. Next slide, please.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes. Tell us about reject ideas. People are really into Mike's reaction to seeing Malcolm getting voted out.
Yeah, for some reason, multiple people said we needed to either get a tattoo of Malcolm's reaction to getting voted out, or Mike should get a portrait of himself laughing hysterically at Malcolm getting voted out.
Yes. Well, I think that there would be some sort of synergy in that this is a Denise Stapley inspired idea to then it being a tattoo of Malcolm or Malcolm being voted out.
That being said, I don't know how I feel about getting a tattoo of myself on myself. Like it feels
I vetoed that idea.
Yeah, it feels like those senior portraits where it's like you're in the foreground and in the background as well. It just feels very freaky.
Yeah, I did not like that for you, Mike. So there were a lot of things that were very like Mike Bloom vanity project oriented that I just thought, I don't think this is the kind of image he's trying to project here, and I don't think he should be forced to do this. So I did think it was worth calling out, and I'll just read you this comment that we got from Sean from Orlando. He says, Mike should get a picture of Mike laughing hysterically at Malcolm getting voted out of Game Changers. A talented artist would, with the correct angle, be able to show the screen and a small picture of Malcolm getting his torch snuffed with Mike in the foreground laughing hysterically. It comes a time, and then I think this is another comment somebody made. This might still be Sean's. I formatted this weird, but it comes a time in any person's life when they make a blunder so apparent it lives in infamy. On one fateful know-it-alls, we know you all as a game changer. The audience fills with anguish as their beloved Malcolm is vanquished at the hands of Stephen's friend JT. Though many felt they had to sympathy puke with dear Malcolm, there was one man who could only laugh at the chaos. Without further comment, Mike should get Malcolm's face as he's voted out of Game Changers. So it's an impassioned request, but I think Sean greatly overestimates what a talented tattoo artist would be able to convey in a legible manner. So I think putting Mike and Malcolm together in the tattoo probably wouldn't work. And also, one hard and fast rule we got was no faces of current living people, which I think is a good rule.
Okay.
Okay, so one final rejected idea screen.
Okay, here we go. Reject ideas. Angela uses the power of veto, and can you blame her?
This is mostly just an excuse to show a couple of the pieces of art that I worked very hard on that she did not like. But also, we got Skinny Ryan's Die Jerks bandana was suggested by several people.
I mean, technically, living person.
Technically living person. We wouldn't get his face, I think. Although people did want him to get Boston Rob's face in several various incarnations.
Yeah, and there was a lot of we get Boston Rob collapsing, Boston Rob spitting out the fopperoo. Yeah. I don't know. Listen, I got to visit Boston Rob's giant head. I don't need another form of Boston Rob on my body forever.
Okay. All right. Well, just talk us through the slide that we're looking at for the people that are listening to the audio of this podcast.
So we have a picture of Skinny Ryan's Die Jerks bandana. We have one of the most popular suggestions, and I think people are assuming that this is not going in the BrantSteele, it's winning, but a lot of people wanted the Survivor Devil.
Yeah.
And I did some concept art, a couple of different Survivor Devils. But I think Angela is rightly uncomfortable with the idea of Mike getting something evil tattooed on him.
Come on, Blue.
I'm sorry. Listen, this was not in the contract I signed, SD. I'm sorry. I will say, though, from Jess's various drawings, I like the Devil Jeff Probst a lot more than Baby Russell Hantz, which was the other option.
Yeah, I didn't include Baby Russell Hantz.
Don't refer to me as SD, okay?
Yeah, I didn't include Baby Russell Hantz on this slide, but that was also very fun to draw.
Baby Russell sounds very cute, like Baby Nut.
Yeah, it was like there's that Harvey Comics devil that wears the diaper, and so I just drew that, but Russell Hantz. And also very fun to draw that I did not want Mike to get on his body. I just thought it was a funny idea. Was a snake eating a rat. We also have an American traditional heart with a banner that says sauna.
Yeah.
Which is Sue Hawk's famous misspelling of Sonia, which I really like this. If I were getting a Survivor tattoo, I might just get that. We had Haley Strong suggested the America tribe flag. We had several people suggested Mike White with the wine glass, which I think would be a fine tattoo.
Mike, are you a fan of that tattoo?
Yeah, exactly. It makes me feel a certain emoji, but I will not go into what that is.
Yeah. And Amy Cook suggested Stephen Fishback with no votes written underneath him.
Why? What would be the significance of that for Mike Bloom?
And how do you think Stephen... I feel like Stephen would never speak to me again if he found out that his face was my tattoo.
Although, Jess, has there ever been a tattoo of somebody with closed captioning?
I'm sure there has. There's been a tattoo of everything, Rob.
I feel like people who get memes, like tattoos of memes, does that count in terms of having a caption?
Yeah, I think that would count. I feel bad for people that get tattoos of memes because 2 years from now, nobody's going to know what the hell that tattoo is.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like you said, it's a relic. The one thing I will say about the Sauna one is that if it ended up winning, I already had a plan to explain it to people as it stood for some of us need acceptance. That's just a motto that I carry through life.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it, Mike. You had that all figured out.
Maybe that's what Sue Hawk actually meant.
It could be, but I wasn't the only person to think of that one. We had several suggestions for some variation of sauna. So I'm kind of sad it's not in there, but what can you do?
What can you do? Okay. All right. Next slide.
Yep. And finally, I want to talk about some really creative, but entirely impractical ideas submitted by people that obviously don't know anybody who has tattoos.
Okay. Why are we seeing Dame Judi Dench here as Old Deuteronomy on this slide?
That is thanks to our friend Addison Mueller, who says, my idea is a
reference... Of course, it's Addison Mueller!
Yes. My idea is a reference to the most recent BrantSteele, Old Deuteronomy drawing the purple rock. The tattoo would be of old Doot as portrayed by Judi Dench with her arm outstretched, holding the infamous purple rock in her non-CGI'd hand, wedding ring and all. And okay, that is a really funny idea. And if you had a couple $1,000s and a very talented artist and several sessions of your life to waste on this, you probably could get that tattoo. Does anybody want to invest that much in what is a very funny throwaway comment?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. And similarly, I want to go through a couple more of these very creative ideas that I think Nick Taylor had one that I think is actually a workable idea. I think it would take too long for Mike to get, and I don't want this for his first tattoo. He says you should get a tattoo that looks like a buff wrapped around your arm, and it can be the buff of whatever season is your favorite.
Oh.
I think that's perfectly reasonable for a Survivor superfan to get, and I think in the hands of the right artist, that could be really super cool. It would just take a very long time for you, Mike, and I think it's kind of a painful area, especially the inside of your arm near your armpit hurts a lot. So
could I do the Boston Rob and put the buff over my shoulder?
I mean, you could, but it would look very weird, and I think we already decided we don't want any more tributes to Boston Rob.
Like I would take my shirt off and be like, why is there a dish rag on your shoulder?
Yeah. And in the realm of Mike portraits of Mike on Mike, we had Leroy suggested a wooden Mike head on an island, a la Island of the Isles, and I think that's very funny, but is it realistically something you want on your body? No. We had Rebecca suggests Ben Wyatt playing Cones of Dunshire with a TV playing Survivor near him. And like, how much real estate?
Yeah.
Mike is not a big guy. He doesn't have that much room on his body to have a whole tableau.
Plus, I don't know how, if you're trying to get renowned Survivor fan Adam Scott on the podcast, Rob, that's either like a big attractor or a big detractor for booking him.
I can't decide which
It'd
it
be
is.
huge. It would be huge.
Yeah, and finally, I want to call out Mickey McCool, who had several good suggestions here, but he suggests down the Richard Hatch, the shot of Jack and Locke looking down the hatch, but it's Richard Hatch and Josh Wigler.
Wait, did them in the hatch together?
Look at, yeah.
No, I think they're bent down, kneeling, looking into the hatch.
They're looking
is
like,
Richard Hatch clothed in this scenario also?
Well, you'd just be able to see his shoulders, so he could be wearing a shirt or not. I assume Wigler's wearing a shirt.
Okay.
But again, I think
so. Richard Hatch is clothed, but Josh Wigler may not be.
Yeah, I like that version.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I still think there's a good chance Josh Wigler would never speak to you again.
Mm-hmm.
Or more so.
Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to get the first wombat tattoo, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. But it took you 7 years for somebody to get a bell tattoo, so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Jess,
all right.
Could you tell me to go to the next slide and just make a noise that's like boom? Like it's like either one of the old what was the toy that George was playing with? What is that called that you were showing the other day on Instagram?
Oh gosh, which one was that? He has so many toys that make noise.
The one that's the like the looking at the what are those things called? The viewer. Oh,
the Viewmaster. Well, that doesn't make a very satisfying noise.
No,
though.
But I feel like that there were records that you could listen to and they tell you when to go to the next slide.
Yeah,
totally.
You'll know it is time to turn the page. You hear the chimes ring like this.
Like when we were in school and like there would be a presentation accompanied by like a CD or something and it'd be like
film strip.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I will give you a signal. If Liana was here, she'd just yell out 69. But we won't do that. So
luckily not a suggestion.
Luckily not a suggestion. Boom.
All right. Now the contenders, Jess.
Yes. And the caveat here, these choices are not ranked or seeded in any way, although some of the more popular and or hashtag basic choices are stacked at the front to ensure that we discuss them.
Okay.
So now let's get ready for drum roll. Boom.
Here, I'll give you a real drum roll here. Okay. All right, as we head into the contenders. Okay. All right.
Woo!
Our first tattoo.
This is not the tattoo. This is the intro screen.
Oh, I was going to say, this is a very elaborate logo of a Survivor season.
Oh my
Survivor
God.
Islands of Ink. Outdraw, outpick, outbloom.
This is one of my favorite Survivor logos in years. I'll be quite honest.
Yes.
This is beautifully done. I highly encourage everyone to check out the video right now. It's got so many tattoos lining it. Islands of Ink was the name that I came up with offline for this Survivor season that we're doing. It has a bunch of tattoo, I'm assuming like popular tattoo ideas like snakes and sharks and the hearts and anchors and all that stuff. But Jess, well done. I know that you designed this logo and it is incredible.
Beautiful. Is this in consideration for the tattoo, Mike?
We're gonna get to an idea early on. I think if I have to get like the Survivor logo, this would be an interesting. I mean, it'd also be super meta, right? To get a tattoo of the season that determine the tattoo.
Right. Could CBS sue Mike Bloom for getting this inked on his body?
No, I know a lot of people that have, not a lot of people, but I know several people that have Survivor logos of some sort on their body. And it's really hard to enforce somebody getting a tattoo of your logo. You can't really.
Should CBS pay Mike Bloom to get this tattoo?
Well, I think I would be more concerned. All of this artwork is copyrighted. This is all, I think 90% of the art that I used on here, like this is just a Photoshop mock-up. So if we want to use this logo for something else, I'm going to have to meticulously redraw everything by hand. But all of these pieces of art are by a legendary tattoo artist named Sailor Jerry, who I'm sure you have heard of. And so he was kind of the guy that invented the idea of the traditional tattoo flash sheet. And so people can walk into a tattoo shop and look at the pictures and choose which one they want. And accordingly, like a lot of the early tattoos that people got were sailors. And so they have a lot of motifs like sailboats, and you get a swallow if you'd traveled 5,000 nautical miles, and you get anchors and like good luck symbols or your sweetheart's name in a heart. So I thought I'd call back to the traditional tattoo roots for the Survivor Islands of Ink logo. And, if people want to use this for something else, I'll have to redraw it. And I'm not opposed to that because it was very fun to put together, but we'll just see what happens.
But for now, it's a logo for a very fun season.
Yes, it is.
Jess, I think more thought went into the backstory of this Survivor season than any real Survivor season in the last 15 years.
You're not wrong, Rob.
Okay.
This took me like a full hour to make.
All right. Are we ready, Jess?
Yes. Boom.
Okay.
Suggestion number 1. This is pretty basic. The Survivor logo. We had a few variations on this that people were interested in getting. Some people said you should just get a basic Survivor logo. Somebody said you should get a BrantSteele style Survivor logo. My twist on it, which you're seeing here on the slide, is I think a great Survivor themed tattoo would be the Survivor logo mashup that you can currently buy merchandise on the CBS.com store that was originally created by Gordon Holmes. And I think it's a beautiful piece of artwork. It pays homage to every season that had been made up to that point. And it's just very fun to look at. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's colorful. It's a bit complicated. It would take you a while to get it, but it's pretty, and I don't think you'd regret this one.
I love this one. I will say right off the bat, I think it's a great representation of like not only the show's longevity, but all, because you want to see what can represent Survivor in an inked form. I think it's a great way to do it. And I much prefer this than getting the tattoo of the mashup of the first 20 winners' faces as a representation of Survivor's history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
agreed. So,
Mike, are you sending this through to Samoa?
I'll send it through to Samoa, and I think Samoa is obviously a part of that. I think it's the hook on the left that maybe is coming from Samoa. But yeah, I think it makes sense. It's a Survivor season. I think Survivor logo, while maybe the most go-to solution for a Survivor tattoo, I think this is a great take on it if it ends up winning.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't have this competition without the Survivor logo.
Mike,
so, all right.
Mike, can you identify the Survivor, the Amazon element here?
Yeah, that's the toucan, baby, over the U.
Wow, very good.
I remember because the Survivor, the Amazon logo had the toucan and like the big ass snake on the bottom.
Yeah, I thought it might be the river also.
Yeah, the river's in there as well, but I remember specifically the toucan and the snake because I think that was also like one of the first asymmetrical Survivor logos as well, because all the other ones were just like the Survivor logo with something above it. This was the first time they really crossed the plane, I believe.
Okay, all right. Wow, we are really in the weeds.
We're just preparing for our August 10th podcast of ranking the Survivor logos, Rob.
The most symmetrical Survivor logos of all time,
Good Lord.
ranked. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm busy that day.
Okay.
Okay, so Survivor logo. Specifically Survivor mashup logo, you're going to Samoa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Boom. The number one most popular answer on the board if you were playing Survivor Tattoo Family Feud. We have our second suggestion, the effing stick.
What
now, Mike, we had at least 10 different people independently suggest the effing stick as your tattoo.
So here's the thing about the effing stick is that while it is, a funny reference, I'm not sure how well it would translate from an inked perspective, right? It's because even though the stick has a face and why Prince Siska was tricked so heartily by Ozzy, the actual stick itself, the indentations are so slight that I feel like it would have to be an exaggeration, like almost cartoon-like, to put the stick on me. And I'm not sure if that'll fly.
Right. I think then you're very much venturing into, Groot.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you got baby Groot on you. I love that guy.
And then I think worst case scenario is that perhaps maybe a little phallic for the tattoo that's going to be adorning your body.
Yeah, not to, I believe one of the people who did not make the final cut was someone who wanted me to tattoo just the phrase, it's an effing stick, above my region, I should say.
Yeah, somebody else suggested that you get, this is huge, I needed this above your region. So, I mean, it's up to you, Mike, but I think neither one is workable.
Okay. So is this a pass, Mike?
I'm gonna pass this one. So I guess it's just I'm even-handed here.
All right.
Yeah, and Mike stays married because Angela really hated this one.
Yeah.
My God, I think that's a terrible. Yeah.
Okay.
We have sound
I'm glad my
a lot of Adam Klein appropriate sound effects.
Yeah, my Survivor avatar and Adam Klein is guiding me through this journey. I feel it.
Good deal. Okay, so effing stick, hell Noah. All right, next up. Boom.
Okay. Oh, soup.
We had many people suggest that noted soup aficionado Mike Bloom, who went and asked every single person on the Island of the Idols cast what kind of soup they were, he should get a soup tattoo. And I really love the representation. I've shared two different works of art here that have been submitted. The one on the left is by Lauren Lang, who I think did a wonderful job. I think this is adorable. I think it could be really fun. And it's weird to have a soup tattoo, but it's also not the weirdest thing you could get.
So there is a bottom, and it's not completely bottom. I mean, this is something that I reference in jest on the B&B, that I should get a soup tattoo in honor of this one question that I decided to subject the Island of the Idols contestants to while I was interviewing them pre-season. I'm slighted to put this in the maybe pile. This, like, okay, if we don't have enough in the cast, this will be one to throw in here, because this is one that I'm not keen on necessarily. I also don't know if the complications, because if anything, I would probably want to go with the drawing that was provided, but I wonder from a complication perspective, like, is the juice worth the squeeze on that one?
I think a good artist could make it workable.
Is the broth worth the boil?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's for the artist to worry about, and I think they could make it happen. I also want to call out Med for submitting the one on the right, and I thought that was also fun. It says RHAP B&B, keep on keeping on. And I think you could get a soup tattoo that works. I think it would be a fun challenge for the right artist. But let's throw it in the maybe pile for now, and we can circle back to it.
Yeah, let's put it on the stove for a little bit. Like let it
burner.
Let it simmer.
Yeah, let it simmer for a bit, and then we'll see how the taste is after a little while.
Okay, sounds good. Boom.
All right. Oh,
the Fleur-de-lis.
Yes, indeed. A little tribute to yours truly, I guess, but also a tribute to your Survivor avatar, Adam Klein. And you could ask.
Oh God!
Oh dear, that's creepy. You could always like ask people to try to pry it off. You could present yourself as an immunity idol. The possibilities are really endless here.
I do like this one. I think it's also, I believe, Survivor Nicaragua had the Fleur-de-lis as one of their tribe names. Not to say that that's like a season to be necessarily associated with in an ink perspective. This is one of those symbols that I feel
just
like
you wait, Mike.
I feel like this is a symbol that is like universal enough that I feel like could not necessarily draw any big, almost said eyebrow stares. That's not a good part of the body. Eyebrow raises or stares.
Yeah.
So I think this is like a good, like low-key UTR player that can be thrown into the cast.
Okay. Now, Mike, I do want to warn you that I think that you may find yourself being engaged by many fans of the New Orleans Saints who may mistake you for one of their own.
That's actually true, and based on Drew Brees' recent news, I may have to put that into serious consideration.
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be okay. But
not to mention you'll be very popular among the Quebecois in our listenership.
Yeah, hit it Mardi Gras for sure.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so all right, so if this is getting me some points in NOLA and in French Canada, I'm liking this more and more.
Okay, let's send it to Samoa then.
Okay, it's going through?
Yep, it's going through. All right, next slide.
Hold on.
Then maybe that was an idol. I don't know.
You're convinced it's not?
Is it? Can I play it?
No. Okay. All right. Next one. No tattoo. All right. What is this? What is this?
This was a great suggestion, and I really think this was a very clever suggestion.
Who suggested this? Angela?
Well, Angela said her comment on this was finally a true hero. But this was a suggestion from Joe Seeger, whose rationale was, I think there should be a no tattoo player in the game. And if it wins, then Mike does not have to get a tattoo.
Boy.
Not that I want him to get out of his pledge, but it could be a good villain in the BrantSteele for everyone but Mike to root against.
Oh, interesting, because Angela called it a hero.
Now, on Robin and Kiva Need a Podcast, I have toyed with the idea of there being a no-show on the wheel, and the fans have really rejected that idea. But it does create stakes.
Exactly. It does create stakes. So I guess this entire podcast is creating stakes. So I don't know if it's necessarily
Big
needed
steaks.
there.
But I like steaks, so
Just like soup, Elaine. Eat it up. Can't remember what soup she said she was, but I'm sure it was something fun. I don't know. I think it's an interesting idea, but I feel like if it comes out of my mouth, it feels like I'm copping out. So I'm going to defer to you two here.
Okay. How about this, Jess? If we have a 16-player season, no tattoo cannot be in the mix. But if we get to a 20-player season, I think it might be okay to invite no tattoo.
Okay, that's fair. I'll put no tattoo in the maybes for now, and we'll see where the day takes us.
No tattoo is an alternate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's the Tina Wesson, and remember, Tina Wesson was an alternate, and she went all the way.
Okay. All right. It was the dog that didn't bark in the edit.
Yep, and this is the tattoo that doesn't happen.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Boom. Okay, this suggestion comes to us from Jordan Kalish with an assist from me on the art. Jordan says that you should get the Sentient 5-piece puzzle, which is a figure that looms large in your podcasting mythology. And I think that Jordan had a different idea in mind when he made this suggestion, but this was all I could think of, and so I had to draw it. I have Rodin's The Thinker, but instead of a torso and head, it is the 5-piece puzzle.
Okay. Longtime listeners know, but if you are new to Rob as a podcast, that it was, I believe it was a feedback show back in Survivor Cambodia.
Oh my God, this was 5 years ago, Rob.
Way back when. So I guess
every year.
I guess we're looking at the fall of 2015, and
I think it was,
we were talking about potentially Spencer's loved one being the 5-piece puzzle that he was able to solve in because he copied the puzzle off of the screen when it had aired during Worlds Apart, and it was going to be his loved one in that season.
Right, and I believe we then spun out an entire scenario of the 5-piece puzzle facing off against Francesca, and the puzzle winning, and it being the worst thing to happen to Survivor ever. So we spun out.
We were so wrong about that.
Yeah, exactly. We created an entire fan fiction from that, and that even predated BrantSteele, and we just get an excuse to create fan fiction whenever we want to. So here's my thinking. I like the idea, and I think it's a fun like inside joke reference. Jess, I love your design, but I would probably go with just the outright 5-piece puzzle, the tangram, and then that way it's like simple enough and not weird enough to like really stick out to people.
Agreed, Mike. That was where I was going to recommend you take it. Just get the 5-piece puzzle. But this also creates another fan fiction universe in my head. And it's something that I think somebody out there might listen to this and run with it. I think we should have someday on Survivor, there should be a contestant who has tattooed all of the popular Survivor puzzle configurations on their body, memento style. And so when you go in and you're faced with like the 3-dimensional tree puzzle or the 5-piece puzzle, you have a cheat sheet for the puzzle right there on your body.
I feel like then they're going to have to like institute layers, like a dress code for the contestants. Like Tyler Perry's going to come in with the opposite. Like you have to wear long johns and turtlenecks, Ryan Ulrich style the entire season.
Yeah. I much prefer if Mike gets this 5-piece puzzle and then goes back on location to Fiji and then sits and interviews a contestant who memorizes the 5-piece puzzle and then Slumdog Millionaire style ends up using it to win the game.
That's a compelling narrative as well.
I like this. If this helps me benefit the winner of Survivor 43 or whatever, then maybe it's an even better idea than I thought.
I'm glad we're looking out for future Survivor winners with this pick.
Does this count as pre-gaming?
Okay. John Kierhofer may not realize Mike Bloom has the answer to one of the puzzles on his person.
Yeah, and the human answer key.
Yeah.
All right, then. Sentient 5-piece puzzle. You're going to Samoa.
Okay. All right. You're going through.
Yay!
All right. 5-piece puzzle.
Yep. Not the sentient puzzle. Just the 5-piece puzzle, I think.
It has internal life.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
In my heart, it can be sentient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next slide. Boom.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Another very popular suggestion. In many different ways, people think that you, Mike Bloom, should get a tattoo of a chicken. And many people feel that this should be because of Chicken Morris.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great impulse. It was also suggested that you should use the chicken immunity idol. Other people said you should get Mark the chicken. I think some variation of chicken is a very popular suggestion from our listenership. And so we have on this slide here, I have a picture of the chicken idol, and then I also have my own chicken illustration that I did when I was spitballing ideas early in this process.
Now, Rob, do you think when they suggested chicken idol, they meant the one from Survivor Philippines or AK's chicken idol from Australian Survivor?
Yeah, I thought the one from I assumed it was the one from Survivor Australia, but this is the Philippines one, right?
Yeah, I believe it's the famous rooster, not to be confused with Matt Quinlan.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, I don't know. I feel like I am like co-opting Emily Fox's potential future tattoos by getting a chicken on me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't get to like call dibs on an animal tattoo. Emily could certainly get one as well.
It just feels like, I don't know, it doesn't feel very me. And I understand not a lot of these can feel very me, but I do feel like some of the things like the 5-piece puzzle are like specific to my sort of Survivor history. And I'm personally not keen on the chicken, even though I do love this picture, Jess. I think it's very fun. I'm just not super high on it personally. I'm gonna say cluck you to the.
Easy, Mike, easy.
Damn.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're gonna pass on the chicken.
I'm gonna pass on the chicken for now.
This is ridiculous.
Okay.
Hell Noah. Okay. Bing.
All right. Next up, torch being snuffed.
Okay, we had many variations on the torch being snuffed, and some very fun ones here. This is the concept art you're seeing. Graham from the Bay said you want a torch similar to San Juan del Sur snuffing the torch. This, I believe, is concept art from San Juan del Sur, and then we also have a sketch that he has submitted for us. And I think that's really fun. It's kind of badass. Basically, it's a badass.
Badass.
And it's very emblematic of the Survivor experience. Some other fun variations. I will have to retweet this out, but Sean Yannell gave some very good suggestions, and he, unlike me, is an actual artist who does amazing art, and he created a logo for you that is the adventure of a lifetime is written on a ribbon in front of a torch, and it could be a tattoo on your body like tomorrow. You don't have to do anything to it. You could take it to anybody and they'd put it on and it would look great, which I thought was a fun idea. And I'll retweet that so you guys can look at my feed for it, or you can go back and check out Sean's Twitter for that. Travis Payne suggested the Willard idol in cartoon format with torches crossed in the background. Which
cartoon format? Isn't that just like a monkey?
Yeah, I think the Willard idol is already in cartoon format, arguably.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's just a cartoon monkey.
Yeah. So I think a torch is it's very clearly it's a Survivor thing. It could be done very interestingly. I think you wouldn't regret this one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say I saw Sean's design, and I want to send that one to Samoa.
Okay.
I think it's simple enough. I think in true Sean style, and yeah, it's classy enough. I think it's succinct enough, and I think the torch is like very simple symbology. So I think it's like a perfect. I could see it. I don't know, Jess, if you disagree. Like this feels like a great like first tattoo. You know,
I think it absolutely is. And it is my bad. I was working on this yesterday and I neglected to put this on the slideshow, but I'll retweet it so everybody knows what we're talking about. I thought it was beautiful art, and I think that's the torch variant we want to send to Samoa.
I would agree. Like the San Juan del Sur one looks like the freakiest freak. But I'm not sure. I would have to like think if it was a torch snuffer. I'd have to really think through because I feel like there are some pretty damn good torch snuffers. By the way, Rob, September 10th, we'll rank the torch snuffers.
Oh, Nicole's birthday, perfect. She'll be thrilled.
She'll love it.
That's just what she asked for.
And Tony's birthday.
You're snuffing her birthday plans by talking torch snuffers with me.
This San Juan del Sur one that we're looking at, that might freak out Asher. You might want to not get that one's a little intense.
And I feel like that's one that'll like get me into certain bars, but maybe not the bars I want to get into.
Okay.
It's a fair point, Mike. All right. So the Sean torch design is going to Samoa to represent torches everywhere.
Okay.
It's bearing the torch.
Bearing the torch. Bing. Okay. Next suggestion. Okay. And this requires a bit of backstory. We had several people suggest, and this is something that I think, Rob, you could get this as your first tattoo as well.
I could.
A lot of people suggested that the Magic 8 Ball is an excellent idea for a tattoo. Just because, you know, if we didn't have the Magic 8 Ball, would we have Rob has a podcast? It's debatable. But Drew Bingham had the best twist on this. He says, I like the idea of a melted Magic 8 Ball. It would pay homage to Survivor and the RHAP universe. Plus, if you ever need advice, you could shake your wherever this is going and hope for an answer. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think I would not recommend, Mike, that you get a tattoo of a whole 8 Ball. Just for the reason that apparently this is something that a lot of cocaine dealers like to get as a tattoo.
Oh, good.
And I don't think that's really the image you're trying to project here. And to my knowledge, you don't sell cocaine, so you probably don't want to advertise that. Again, attracting the wrong element, it's problematic. However,
get you into other bars though.
Yeah, exactly. If I want to go bar hopping, just switch out my rub-on San Juan del Sur snuffer tattoo with my melted 8 Ball tattoo.
What happens if you wear both tattoos into the bar?
Then I become Scarface.
Popular guy.
Yep, indeed. But I think the melted Magic 8 Ball is very fun because nobody else is going to have this tattoo yet. And we are able to consult with the owner of the 8 Ball to shoot it from exactly the right angle to get the good reference. I pulled this. I had to actually go back and rewatch. This is my favorite episode of Survivor of all time, by the way. So
when the camp burns down?
Yes. Yes.
What
the
do you
foreshadowing.
like?
I like the foreshadowing with Butch and the firewood, and he just keeps talking about it to the point where you know something's going to happen.
Yeah.
I like you and Matt going on your camping trip in his new car. Yes, your little picnic, and then
Saturn Ion.
Yes, watching the camp go up in flames and everybody having to sift through the ashes of the camp.
Yes,
is very powerful, but also just because the firewood thing happened, it's also a really great payoff. So. I am a big fan of this idea, and I hope that Mike feels the same way.
Outlook is uncertain. Just because this does feel like a Rob specific thing, and even though I don't know if Rob would ever get one, it would feel a little weird to get like something associated with him specifically on me. You know, that feels like oddly impersonalized in my opinion. Maybe that's the same way I felt about the chicken, that it feels like it's someone else's tattoo destiny that I would just be getting in the way of.
So when we raise $100,000 for direct relief and we have Rob in the hot seat, this is what we should suggest for him.
I think I pass forward here. I pass the buck, the 8-ball.
You know, my biggest thing with the melted 8-ball, and it is a really cool shape, but I think that what people on the may mistake it for is the unfinished Death Star from Return of the Jedi, and I feel like that is what the more often than not, I think that people will come up to you and like, oh, the Death Star.
Yes,
yeah. Oh, a really bad rendering of it.
Yeah.
Yes, the second Death Star. Watch out for that exhaust port.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe that should go right above my ass then, if that's the case.
Oh, dear. All right. So we are giving a hell Noah to the Magic 8-ball.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're going to let this one burn.
Okay. Oh, man. All right.
All right. Next slide. Bing. This, I think, is the winner. This next suggestion, again, we have some amazing art from Sean, which I did think to include here. Several people suggested it, and I think it's heartwarming, it's really personal, and it speaks to Survivor in a way that is both classy and something that only Mike can boast. This is Mike's immunity idol that he chose to be put into the game for season 39. And it is janky.
Yeah.
But
what appealed to you about this specific one? Because if I remember the story, that they brought you to like a wall of immunity idols. You could pick any one you wanted. This was the one you picked.
I wanted it to be one that people would think was fake. So I was going for deception, and so I picked this one.
Yes, I think that Dominic and Anthony could throw this together.
Well, that's the thing. That's the point. And actually, I had no idea that Nora would make a fake idol that probably looked a little bit better than this one.
Right, and then this idol, then Jamal would play it on Nora at the tribal council where Jack went home. Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing is that. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I love this idea in so many ways. Like Jess said, I think it's personal to me. It's obviously a very simple design for the reasons that I chose it. And it's also very warmly associated with, you know, two of my favorite people from that season in Jamal and Nora. So this is one of my favorite ideas, if I'm being candid.
Okay. Same. This might be my favorite. I think this is going to be the fan favorite. This is the true front runner here. And I would almost say cancel the whole experiment and just let him get this one. Where we could hold this in reserve, and if he gets an undesirable outcome in the BrantSteele, he can opt for this one, and we'll get somebody else to get the winner.
Oh wow!
Now, what would be a good would it be a good position just for it to like wrap around my leg or something, like as if my leg was wearing the idol?
I mean, you can experiment. You could also just get the shape somewhere. I think it's a nice shape that you could get it on the back of your calf. I think would look nice. That's an easy place to get a tattoo. You could get it on your forearm. The possibilities are really endless, and you can talk to a reputable artist who will help you find the best place to put it. But
so looking at the picture, I didn't even realize that the string wasn't big enough to put around your neck.
It's the immunity bracelet.
I made a wristlet for an immunity idol. Oh, I love this. I love this so much. Send it to Samoa and then some.
Immediate Samoa trip. All right. Yay! Hey, we're going to Samoa. Okay, next slide. Bing. Okay. Several people suggest we have many different variations to talk about here, and we could send more than one into the fray if you want. But a lot of people obviously would have you get the legend Outwit, Outplay, Outlast in some format. And you could just get those words. You could get those words styled in a Survivor-y way. One of my favorite suggestions is the improperly solved puzzle from Survivor Worlds Apart, where Outwit, Outplay, Outlast is a little bit scrambled. I
believe that's the Dan is wrong again memorial challenge.
That's the Dan is wrong again challenge. And it's
anytime
also
you can
fun
commemorate Dan Foley.
It's also fun because it's mean to Dan Foley.
Dan is wrong. Dan is wrong again.
I love it. So there's that angle, which is nice. Somebody else suggested, and I want to make sure I credit the right person here. So we'll go down here. Oh, yeah, it's our friend Mickey McCool again, who had a lot of good suggestions, but he says you should get the Dharma Initiative logo with Outwit, Outplay, Outlast around the outside, and I tweaked that a little bit, and I stuck the words on the inside for you. But that is mocked up here on this screen as well. So you could really take this any direction you want, Mike, and we're here to figure out what that should be.
So here's the thing. I might opt for multiple versions of these. There is one that actually I will give a late-breaking, last-minute suggestion from the great Angela Bloom, which was very simple. Outwit, Outplay, Outlast, written in Survivory font in a band around my arm.
That's nice.
And I am all for that. I want to send that one to Samoa. Yes, it is the most simple one, but I feel like that could be a very fun one. And also, Survivor boiled down to its most simplistic terms.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
So now my question is, I am debating if I also want to put the Dharma one on there. Because I think that's another one that, again, is unique to probably only myself and Josh Wigler in terms of our formative loves of Survivor and Lost. It's like a perfect mashup. Maybe it would get some tweaking to figure out like what the perfect mashup would be, but this is a concept that I'm keen on. I just don't know if I want to stuff the cast with too many Outwit, Outplay, Outlast, you know?
I think you could have two. I think it would be sort of like when you have the two people like Allie and Patrick who know each other and are afraid to admit
they didn't necessarily work together.
I mean, don't load it. Like, don't make a whole Outwit, Outplay, Outlast tribe, but you could certainly have two. My question to you, Mike, is if the Dharma logo one wins and you get that tattoo, are you then going to be mad if next year we get Josh Wigler to get that same tattoo, or will you be tattoo brothers?
Well, that's the thing is that I guess if I get it first, I can't be as mad if somebody copies me, right? Because then I would be more so like I was the trendsetter in that regard. And I don't mind being tattoo brothers with Josh. I would just feel weird if I'm saying, hey, Tony, I have your tattoo as well. Nice to meet you, by the way.
It's a good point. You want to be the trendsetter in that instance.
And you want to have some sort of relationship with the person you're getting a tattoo with, too.
Right.
So
okay.
So then in that case, I am good then putting Dharma Survivor mashup in Samoa as well.
Okay.
So double.
We're sending two to Samoa.
Two go to Samoa.
Yay!
Okay.
Just gonna play that on a loop a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Like
great.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Wow.
I remember seeing the Kim 1 second video.
I love that Rob's soundboard is so huge now that he's got every single soundbite we could possibly ask for at his fingertips, and then he has also every quote from Alf at his fingertips.
No, well, that was not my soundboard. I googled Alf soundboard.
I was gonna say I can't wait for that upcoming B&B game, Alf quote or Survivor soundbite.
Yes, which Alf season was this from?
Here for that. All right, so two Outwit, Outplay, Outlast variants are going to Samoa. Next slide, please. Bing.
Okay. Oh, Sir Squiddington.
Hello, friend.
Here's our old friend, Sir Squiddington.
Hello.
Who is that? Wait, who is that?
It's freaking Alf.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was very scared. I thought someone came into the podcast.
No, we did not get Zoom bombed.
There was a home intruder.
Oh.
Yes, it's Sir Squiddington.
Yes.
Sir Squiddington.
Apparently.
Oh my goodness.
So we had several suggestions, and wherever you see my art, especially in these early ones, with few exceptions, there are two late in the slideshow that are just my suggestions that weren't backed up by anybody. But this one, many people suggested even before I drew it. So on the right here, you'll see my rendition of Sir Squiddington. He's got a top hat and a cane and a pocket watch and a monocle.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Very classy dude. And then on the left, Sammy Kappa took a picture of somebody else's squid tattoo and has mocked it up a little bit. And this begs the question, really. When we picture Sir Squiddington, do we picture a knight ready to avenge his loved ones, or are we picturing an upper-class twit? Because I always assumed it was the latter.
Is he a knight, or is he a proper British gentleman?
Was he knighted by the Queen for his service? I always like to think he's a bit of a dandy. So I would personally go with the latter in the more like foppish Sir Squiddington personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I could, because I mean, Ken does say what like Sir Squiddington gave his life, so I guess that means he's more sacrificial. But at the same time, I don't know how imaginative Ken can be, and I just feel like for comedic and cartoonish purposes, that's what I've always personally imagined. I remember when Sir Squiddington first came to light, I believe like one of the accounts that was created from him did indeed have sort of more so what you were going along the lines with, Jess, a very proper cephalopod.
Yes, and when you Google image search Sir Squiddington, you get two really talented artists with their own renditions of upper-class twit Sir Squiddington. And that's kind of where I took my inspiration for this piece of artwork, though. And I got to be honest, this is my favorite thing that I've drawn maybe in my entire life. I'm really happy with how this came out.
Okay.
And I kind of love him. So I would be thrilled if this went to Samoa and if you even like gave it to your tattoo artist to use as inspiration.
Jeff, I found love out on the island. His name is Sir Squiddington.
At the very least, Sir Squiddington could go to the RHAP merch department for t-shirts.
I completely agree. Like or like a button or something, a decal.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I'm gonna mock this up, and we can order some Sir Squiddington decals to put up in the store. With proceeds can go again to direct relief.
Okay, all right, so good. So let's also just keep that as a conversation going of things that are not going to be going onto Mike Bloom's body, but maybe things that people might want to wear on apparel.
Right. Yes. So from that perspective, I'm going to make this a maybe for now, in that I sort of agree with what you guys are saying, in that like I think it's a fun joke, but I think it might serve a larger purpose than like something on my body. Though, God, I love this drawing, Jess. This is such a fun drawing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed doing this for you, Mike, and I'm happy if it gets second life doing something else.
Okay. Is there any significance to the time on the stopwatch or on the pocket watch?
Not really. It's funny. This was a plot point on Ink Master one time.
There was the show about squid.
Yes, the show about squid.
Octopus. Is that octopus only? Yeah.
There was an artist who they had a challenge where everybody had to draw things with watches in them, and he drew a pocket watch and he had a time on it. And he said, every time I tattoo somebody, and they don't ask me what time, if they don't tell me what time to put on the pocket watch, I just put the time that I was born. And the judges found out about this. They did not like that. They said that's akin to signing your own work, and they kicked him off the show for it.
Ooh.
So
Wow.
I put a random time of day on there, but when I kind of freshen this up for use as a design for the merch store, I can put any time we want. I think maybe 8 p.m. would be a good time to put on there.
Okay, because it has 8 legs.
Well, because it's survivor time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry,
smart.
Central Time Zone.
Sorry. Mike, do you want to throw back to the Sir Squiddington, the moment that started this conversation?
Yeah, so I believe in Millennials v Gen X, season 33, back in 2016, only a year after the premiere of the Sentient 5-piece puzzle, you and I were discussing a secret scene where Ken McNichol, who was like a prolific fisherman at that point, on the levels of Ozzy and Richard Hatch, had brought in quite a catch. For some reason, it was like a secret scene of Ken just like talking about all the fish he caught, and I believe he pulled out a squid and said, Sir Squiddington gave his life for the meal we're going to have tonight, which is slightly biblical.
I don't have the Ken clip natively. I think what I have is you and I talking about that clip for the best of 2000 episodes. So it'll be very too meta to throw back to me and you talking about a clip.
Exactly. Like I'll draw the line of getting my own tattoo face on me.
Yes.
But that's not, let alone playing a clip of myself. But yeah, we riffed on that. We talked about we did a lot of Ken impressions. Then we talked about like a celebrity apprentice task that talked about making a Sir Squiddington doll which had realistic genitals. I think it's where we ended up down.
Yeah, and I think that we also might have made a leap to Sir Squiddington, and I believe that Ken refers to Squiddington.
But I guess this means this is RIP though, right? So like, there's no chance that SEG is gonna sue at all.
Or Ken, yeah. Okay.
I feel like maybe we should let Ken pick the charity.
Okay.
I can reach out to him and find out what he thinks, and
Okay.
he might not respond because who would blame him for not responding to?
But then you have to tell him that that it's a test and that he failed.
Okay,
right.
so Sir Squiddington, you are on the maybes list.
I'm on the maybe just because I'm seeing now its appeal outside of my body, as weird as it is to say.
Okay.
Yeah, and we could always have, like, you could tell the artist what you want and use this as a reference and have them do something similar but not the same.
Okay. All right.
All right, next slide. Bing.
All right. Coach
All right.
poetry / Chris Noble lyrics.
And I want to put a caveat out there that your wife hates this one a lot, both of these things. But several people suggested, and this is another tip for those of you out there who are thinking about what you might like to get in a tattoo. Here's another tip for you. You really want about a 30 to 40 character limit on any slogan you're going to get.
So we're talking like a fourth of a tweet, if that.
Yes. So anybody that suggested that Mike should get Sue Hawk's entire rats and snakes speech.
Oh my God.
That's a bad tattoo, man. Like, you don't want to put Mike through that. And you don't want to put people in the position of reading that much. Like I have a tattoo on my arm that is 30 characters, and it spans the entire inside of my forearm, and it's probably too much. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about what kind of words to get put on your body. You don't want somebody to stare at your body trying to read through a whole thing. So you really want one line max. And I think this is a idea that we can work out. But I grouped together the two greatest poets to emerge from the Survivor franchise, short of Semhar.
Well, I was going to say, I think one particular winner does not agree with the assessment that Chris Noble is one of the best poets in Survivor history.
We're going to get to that later, Mike. We have a tribute to him as well. But some variation of Coach's poetry. And here we have a thing that I did in 5 minutes in Photoshop of a Coach silhouette that says, "With friend and foe, we march to the battle plane." And that's an option. You also have, here I have a picture of a jet ski that says, "Living the dream on Ponderosa." So if there's one of these works of art that speaks to you, Mike, and there's a line that really resonates, you can feel free to push this through to Samoa. Otherwise, we'll let somebody else out there get it.
Yeah, I might throw this one back to the fishes, only because, and again, the images can be changed, but I feel like if I get the Coach one, I will have people approach me being like, "Oh, what Bible verse is that?" Just due to the position that he's in the silhouette.
Well, I was trying to find, there's another one where he's doing like Coach Chi and he's almost in like a warrior pose, but I could not find a good one to make a silhouette.
Very appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good point. Like, this is all conceptual. Like, anything I'm mocking up for you is purely conceptual, but it's a good point. So I'm getting from you that we want to hell Noah both of these ideas.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna put the mic down when it comes to these tattoos and say, and let their words speak on their own, not necessarily in the skin.
All right. Okay.
All right, fair enough.
Stop rapping. You're trash.
Oh, no.
Hang on to that sound bite, Rob. We're going to need it in a little while.
Okay. All right. We'll come back.
All right. Next slide. Bing.
Okay. Oh, speaking of.
And this one, this is a great piece of art here that was submitted to us. This is from a person with the Twitter handle Veto Bitch 1. Yeah, that was my reaction too. But I think it's a great work of art. It's very simple. It's very legible. And it's funny. Even if you don't really understand the context, I think it's hilarious. But several people said like some kind of variant on a llama would be a good tattoo to have in the BrantSteele.
See, I'm pretty good on it. It's not specific to me necessarily, but I do agree that I like the design on this. That it's at least drawing me in from not outright saying no. I'm inclined to make this a maybe for now and see, what the cast looks like and if it's something I would legitimately consider putting up there. I guess what would be a good placement for this, right? Because usually if it's speaking llama, it would be emerging from your face. But I will not get a face tattoo as my first tattoo. I apologize, Dalton Ross, who has been trying to campaign to get me a face tattoo, but I will not get one.
I don't know. You got a lot of suggestions for a face tattoo. And I'm like, these are people that do not know people with tattoos. They don't understand. This is going on Mike's body for the rest of his life. It's got to be something he's remotely okay with. And faces hurt. Faces hurt your employment chances. Like, face tattoos, like, just say no. Unless you're either like in prison for the rest of your life or you are going to work as a tattoo artist for the rest of your life. maybe not so much with the face tattoos.
Mike, I don't think this is a great option. I think you're going to be answering a lot of questions of like, oh, what animal is that?
That's a good point. Depending on the size, it might just look like some blob.
Like,
Might
is that
a
your
giraffe.
dog? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't want people asking, is that your dog? Why are you talking about your dog?
I will reiterate, people don't ask you about your tattoos nearly as much as you would like them to. Like I have a quite sizable tattoo of a Galapagos giant tortoise, and I wear shorts all summer and nobody says a word about it. Like nobody has commented on it. I've had to like actively show it to people and like bring it up, and that's kind of gauche.
Let's make it a maybe for now. I think this is probably the bottom of the maybe pile, but I still want to keep it in consideration because again, I do like that design.
Okay, it's in the maybe pile. Great.
Okay. Next
right.
up.
Bing.
Oh, the upside down U.
This one is all me. Nobody else suggested this for some reason. I thought this was a slam dunk, to be honest, because this is very specific to Mike. It's specific to all three of us, really. The upside down U is another figure that looms large in Mike's Survivor podcasting mythology. And it's very strange and funny, yet very legible and basic.
The question is, we'll have people try to look upside down to try to read what it looks like.
I feel like that's kind of self-evident. And you could get it somewhere, like you could get it on your forearm, so you could twist it either way if people wonder why you have it.
What do you think, Rob?
Looks like a magnet.
Yeah, as I say, it looks like I could see people being like, oh, nice horseshoe.
Well, sure. Lots of people get horseshoe tattoos. That's valid.
This is a maybe for me. This is to me is like the definition of a maybe. Right? I think it's a fun reference, but I'm not like super jazzed on it one way or the other as I was on some of the ideas we've sent forward so far.
All right, fair enough. Upside down U is just going to kind of hang in limbo.
Yes, exactly. It will not be churched up nor down right now.
Yeah. It does remind me of one of my favorite clips from, it was a couple of years back, Jess, where we talked about the upside down U in regards to The Amazing Race. And I believe you said at that time, Jess, that the upside down U is an iconoclast.
Yeah, I stand by it. And really, honestly, that was one of the main reasons I thought of the upside down U for this competition. Just because I feel like it challenges the status quo, or the status quo, as Mike would say.
Yeah, I was saying, and I believe we came up with we said that the upside down U would run for office, which I think, like, considering some of the options that have been had, honestly, it might have had a fighting chance at this point in 2020.
Okay.
You know, the right Facebook campaign, the right bots behind it, who knows where upside down U could go.
Could go a lot of places. Okay. Upside down U, was that maybe or a pass, Mike?
Let's say maybe. That's a maybe for now. It's hard maybe.
Okay.
All right. Upside down U, a maybe. All right.
Yep. Okay,
Let's
next
see.
slide.
All right.
No.
Milk your own milk.
And here we come to several different iterations of Survivor Nicaragua inspired art, and we got a lot of these. Several. I'm very surprised.
Now, what is the significance of Survivor Nicaragua to Mike?
I
haven't even talked about it yet on Historians or anything like that.
It's very interesting to me that so many people submitted Survivor Nicaragua inspired designs, including
Does that include the Fleur-de-lis?
Yeah, I guess so. And we already put that one through. So maybe, especially, this is by far the least weird of the Survivor Nicaragua inspired designs.
This is the least weird. It's a cow.
Yeah, it's a cow. And I think in a banner you would want, in like kind of the traditional font, you would want it to say milk your own milk underneath the cow.
Well,
Somebody actually, and this is better than the initial suggestion, which was that you just get the udder with milk your own milk. I think having the whole cow makes it workable.
I'm intolerant to this.
Okay. All right.
I'm not. Listen, Purple Pit Kelly. She's a fine young woman. I do not know if I want her immortal quote "milk your own milk" tattooed on me.
Okay.
Fair enough. And if you ever met her, that could be really awkward.
All right. So you're gonna pass.
I'm
all right,
passing on
hell
milk
no.
your milk.
Okay.
Screw all of you.
Okay.
Okay. Next
right.
up.
Medallion of Power from Survivor Nicaragua.
I'm gonna pass this one off to Dalton Ross. I feel like he should get it.
Yeah, can we raise some money to get Dalton Ross a tattoo?
Yeah, I think, but look, there's some fleur-de-lis in this one anyway, so I feel like we actually already covered this one in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
It's true. And this is very elegant, but it also speaks to the worst decisions production has ever made.
What, in hindsight, I mean, was it that terrible? Did it really hurt that much?
Well, that's the thing, is that I think the question is, are the worst twists useless, or do they have a negative impact in the game? And some people, if you feel like it's the former, then the Medallion of Power might be up there.
I feel like this did no harm.
Yeah, I guess look for us to count down the worst, the most harmful and most useless twists in Survivor. It's a 2-part podcast coming up later on.
Yeah, this really was useless and toothless. I think that those were really that.
That should be that. I'll get that phrase tattooed on me.
Yeah, I'm putting that in there. Useless and toothless.
Okay. All right. Pass on the Medallion of Power.
Pass on that one.
I'm gonna pass
Next
on
slide,
that one.
please. This one's going to take some explanation.
Oh my God.
Because this goes against every single thing that Angela told me we could not have in this competition, but I loved this suggestion so much that I feel like if we worked on it, we could make it something fun.
Well, let's for our audio listeners. Okay,
I don't think it helps to have the visual, to be honest.
It really does not.
This is labeled a 2-headed Malcolm and Jimmy T time-traveling wolf. Can you explain, Jess?
I will throw this to the original submitter of the idea, Ben Delahaye, who says, you should get a tattoo on your arm of a face split in two. One half is Malcolm Freiberg, star of Survivor Philippines, and the other half is Jimmy T from Survivor Nicaragua and future Malcolm Freiberg. Alternatively, there are 2 wolves inside of you, and one is Malcolm, the other is Jimmy T, and they both travel through time. And this probably should have gone on the pile with the Ben Wyatt watching Survivor while playing Cones of Dunshire type things, but it's just such a weird idea. And a 2-headed wolf where one is Malcolm and one is Jimmy T. Like, look, I never realized how much they do look alike. Just like these 2 pictures next to each other, they could be father and son. They could be future self and past self. They're both wearing necklaces. I feel like you get a 2-headed wolf wearing a necklace, and then it's just like, oh, Mike, you got a 2-headed wolf, and it's like the
where does the wolf come into this?
Why are they wolves?
It's a classic quote about there are 2 wolves inside of you, and one is love and one is hate, and which one controls you is the one you feed. And it's a funny riff on a lot of people to that wolf quote. And the idea of having 2 wolves, like the 2-headed wolf, where one is very subtly, Malcolm and one is future Malcolm. I think it's very funny. I don't think this is going through, but I just wanted to talk about it because it's so niche, and you are maybe in the very small subset of people that might find this entertaining in the way that I did.
This is by far the most, I think, unique one we've gotten so far. But if there's one drum I'm going to beat over the course of this podcast, it's hashtag keep Malcolm off my body. So as much power as I give to him and future Malcolm, wow, I am still mystified by this idea. This takes a lot of creativity just to think, a tattoo, wow, this is a great thing that I will go off of, a time-traveling wolf featuring 2 Survivor contestants as the heads.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes it better, Mike, we could just make it like the time-traveling Marty and Spencer.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going against our
all roads lead back to Survivor Nicaragua, though.
Exactly, that's
it's
the thing,
true.
though. And I guess does our face rule count if it's on the body of an animal?
Well, I think we would not put the faces of the contestants. We'd find some way to signify them that means something to you, and everybody else can just kind of wonder why you have that weird tattoo. And again, nobody's ever going to ask you.
Like a chessboard in honor of Marty and Spencer's shared chess connection.
A chessboard next to a tennis racket.
Yeah, this one's gonna get a pass from me, but like extra credit up the wazoo for the creativity behind this idea.
Yeah,
I felt like it was so creative we needed to talk about it.
It might be sort of like a good reminder of the passage of time that Malcolm will eventually turn into Jimmy T. Cherish every moment, and of course that eventually time stops for no one.
Well, that I think looking at my skin would be a reminder eventually of the effects of time.
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah, Malcolm might turn into Jimmy T.
Yes,
by the
so
time I
what
get to a
you should
certain
do,
age.
just get Malcolm tattooed on your body, and then it will age to Jimmy T as you continue to grow, Mike.
What drum am I beating, Rob? Keep Malcolm off my body.
Well, Malcolm's hair will gray.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's something else. All right, so that's a hard no on Two-Headed Malcolm and Jimmy T, the time traveling wolf.
Okay.
If you want to start a children's book series about that, be my guest.
I really feel like our friend Ben, who submitted this, he should do that because he has creativity that I don't think I could tap into on my best day.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Next slide, please. Bing.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes.
This one comes from our friend and colleague, Puya Zanvakili, who suggested this to Mike, and I think this is the one Mike is secretly rooting for. And I have misgivings, but I'm just going to read what Puya wrote. He says, I pitched this to Mike initially, and he liked it and asked me to officially pitch it, so here I am. My idea is that Mike gets the Spotify code of one of the Survivor podcasts relating to this project on him. This tattoo would not only look pretty cool and harmless, but also it serves as a time capsule. And in the event that one day baby Asher asks his father, what does your tattoo mean? Or why did you get a tattoo? Mike can have him scan the Spotify code and listen to either the Voicemails podcast where Mike pitched this, or he can tattoo the code for the BrantSteele podcast that this tattoo idea would have to win for that to happen. Now Asher knows about all of them. I will post a photo of what the code would look like. And here we have a photo of what the code would look like. And it is pretty innocuous. And I think this is a cool idea. Along the lines, I think people do get occasionally barcodes or QR codes. I've heard that people go into tattoo parlors and ask for a barcode tattoo. And if they don't have a barcode in mind, they have one at their disposal that is something awful. So you have to make sure that your Spotify code is exactly the Spotify code you want, Mike. And also, someday in the far distant future, Spotify may not be a thing, and you have to be prepared for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is I would have to look into options as to if there is a formal backup that I could put the audio on, this would be the way to do it, because I really do love this idea. Not only that, this is one of Angela Bloom's, not only did she give the thumbs up, she basically gave 2 thumbs up to this idea. She really likes it, because I do like the mystery behind it. It's also, I know people aren't apparently asking what your tattoo is about, but it's a very easy answer of just scan it and listen. And I love the idea. It could either be the voicemail podcast in which I proposed this idea to Rob, or it could be the announcement of the winner of the BrantSteele. Could be a way to just literally get the origin story of this tattoo. And as a Lost fan, I love me some tattoo origin stories. So I'm a fan of this one personally. I know the iconography is not Survivor related, but it's so creatively meta that it's something I'm really satisfied by.
Yeah, I am not familiar with Spotify code. Does it go to a specific podcast, or it goes to an episode?
I think it's like a QR code. So if you scan it, it takes you to a specific
I've just never
Spotify
seen one in the
place.
wild.
I've never seen one either, and I could not for the life of me figure out how to generate one. So this might take some doing. It might be something that you have to reach out to Spotify about to get the exact one. But I like the idea. I think it's a good one. I think it's got very deep personal meaning to you, Mike, and it's innocuous. I don't think people will ask you about it a lot if that's a thing people are doing in your social circles. And I think it's a very attractive tattoo.
Yeah, so I will say, listen, like you said, I don't want to become a walking billboard for Spotify necessarily and consign myself to that brand, but we will say, QR code to podcast suggesting the idea is going to Samoa.
Okay. Got it. Finally send another one to Samoa.
Yeah, because as long as it doesn't link back to Survivor Nicaragua, then I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, next slide. Bing.
Okay. Ooh, Fijian pizza pile.
Okay, this one is all me, and I have nobody backing me up on this, but I think it's a hilarious idea.
Okay. Mike, did you get to have any of the Fijian pizza when you were there?
I did, and you know what? I don't know if it's the same pizza that they get from craft services. I liked it personally. I don't think I'd ever submit to a pile of pizza, though I don't know, and many people would, aside from people that were starving on an island. This is another one that's fun Survivor reference, but no connection to me necessarily. So I might have to put the pizza pass on this one.
Okay. Passing on the pie.
I might get this one myself.
Ooh.
I enjoy it. It's such a weird thing that nobody else would ever have, and it's a Survivor reference. It will annoy Brett LaBelle.
But I do feel it's universal enough though that people will be like, oh yeah, pizza. I know pizza.
Yes. Jess, are you concerned that people might mistake that for Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs?
Ooh.
Well, that was Josh Wigler's first comment when he saw this art. But I'm okay with that too.
Or else pizza is gonna send out for you.
That's the one. See, you don't even need the soundboard now. You just have Rob doing the voice.
Yeah, maybe a Spotify code of a soundboard of Pizza the Hut quotes.
I like this too.
He doesn't have that
All
many.
right, so Mike
You owe
refuses
me
the-
1 million space bucks.
That's about all there is, to be honest.
Yeah, you pretty much went through the repertoire of Pizza the Hut.
Glorified
moments.
cameo.
Yeah. Is he on Cameo?
I would pay for that.
Well, he's
Yeah.
dead, so
Well,
Oh,
he
good
ate
point.
himself. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. How many credits?
Okay.
How many space bucks is that going to cost us?
All right.
All right. So, yeah, I didn't think Mike would realistically get a tattoo of this, but it's a funny idea. So
Yeah, I like
I'm
it. I like
not
the idea.
offended. I'm not
Okay.
offended that it's going in the Hell Noah pile, and I can work on getting Josh Wigler to get this tattoo.
All right. Sounds
That
good.
makes more sense.
Okay,
All right.
next up. Bing.
Okay. Oh, Blooming Onion. Going
Yeah,
back
so-
to Mike Bloom's origin stories.
Exactly. This is this would also like people would not ask too many questions about this because it looks enough like a water lily or a chrysanthemum. And only you have to know that it's a blooming onion.
I don't know if I want a reminder of the time I worked at Outback Steakhouse and withheld my last name for 6 months. I don't know if that's a marker of days gone by. I do like the idea, though, that I could just like, oh, no, it's a brown chrysanthemum.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gold chrysanthemum, Mike.
Exactly.
Golden.
Ooh, I wonder. See, that's the thing. Like, if it was linked with Survivor, I know that Jerry Manthey does infamously say "bloomin' onion, baby" during Heroes versus Villains. That would have been a fun thing, but
Well,
this
that
feels-
was the first suggestion, honestly. People
really?
said you should have the legend blooming onion baby right underneath it.
maybe I'll get that as Asher's tattoo. Maybe that'll
Yeah.
be the first one for him.
Don't forget
You could
also.
have him you could have him in the middle like a Cabbage Patch.
Yeah, the Blooming Onion also makes a return, at least in I believe in Survivor Cagayan and also in Survivor HHH.
Oh, right, because they have the merge feast at Outback Steakhouse.
Yes, I have a wand off here on my computer about this.
Oh my God, we're merged again. Heroes, healers, and hustlers in. Gonna bring the merge feast, show you how. Got a question for you, better answer now. Is there a ribeye steak? Yeah. Is the potato baked? Yeah. How about the lava cake? Yeah. Chocolate thunder from down under. Better get 3 of them now, everybody. Yeah. Stop your body. Yeah. Everybody. Stuff your body right. Outback's back, alright.
It's a huge part of Survivor history, Mike.
They didn't even mention the onion.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
I'd rather get Thunder from Down Under.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, this is also the second best use of that song in a Wandoff.
Yeah. Well, this
That's
was
true,
predated.
actually.
Predated.
Yes, that's true.
Now that makes me like not want to put it on just because of that, the Wandoff song that doesn't even mention it. Doesn't even make the Family Feud of Survivor-based Outback products.
Mm-hmm.
I really, in fairness, I think I've only ever had a blooming onion at Chili's.
Oh.
Ooh, what do they call
I
it
think
there?
they call it the Awesome Blossom at Chili's, or they did.
That's the thing as well. Could people be like, "Oh, Awesome Blossom, love that thing."
Whoa.
I can't wait for like Survivor '83, Awesome Blossom versus Bloomin' Onion.
Oh well, I know who I'd be supporting then. Who I get tattooed on? Who'd I show my 5-piece puzzle tattoo to give the lead to in the puzzles? Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on this one too. It feels like applicable to me, but not so applicable to Survivor. I guess I've sort of figured out my Venn diagram personally, and it's filling one circle, but not the other necessarily. More so a circle of deep fried onion.
Okay.
Now
All right.
I'm hungry.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next slide, please.
Okay. Crocodile scumbags.
This is another one that is a least favorite option from Angela Bloom, so keep that in mind. But this was requested by Mike Schmidt, who says, let's go with a crocodile that says, I hope you get bit by a freaking crocodile, scumbags written around it.
How does that fall into your character limit, Jess?
It's a lot. I would say just get scumbags underneath it.
Does that feel
or
like
just get the crocodile?
Did Angela approve that?
No, Angela vetoed this one, but I put it in because it's a funny idea. And also, you could just get the crocodile. And then you're referring to several different seasons.
I suppose so. The thing is, with the scumbags in particular, I don't want a tattoo that makes me look like I want to pick a fight with anybody.
Good point. That's a good point, Mike.
That's why Die Jerks, I think, was another good one to sort of veto.
Yeah, we didn't send Die Jerks to the prelims.
Oh, man. All right, you know what? Because of the crocodile and because I feel like maybe I've been a bit too negative Nancy, I'm going to put this one as a maybe.
Okay.
Just so we can circle back to the idea. But yeah, it's something that would need to be workshopped if it actually ends up going to Samoa.
Okay. I just want to say, just as a point in this proceedings, I believe we have 8 yeses so far.
Yes, 8 yeses, and I don't think we even have 8 remaining. We have, we have 12 remaining slots to fill. I don't even know if we have 12 slides left.
So it's looking kind of like a 16-person cast.
Yeah, this might be like a Big Brother 1 BrantSteele simulation.
Yeah, and you don't want the public voting on that, Mike.
No.
Because let me tell you, I've seen what the public wants you to get for a tattoo, and you do not want it.
Boston Rob's face on Malcolm's hair with the Declaration of Independence written on it.
And it's all on your crotch.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no. Okay, all right, let's keep going.
No good. All right, next slide. Bing.
Okay.
This idea I like because this is very simple. It's pretty, doesn't raise a lot of questions. I think David Schwartz was the only person that suggested this, and I kind of wished that I had suggested it as well. This is the logo from the season 37 Merge Feast note. When the survivors arrived at the Merge Feast, there was a big sign with this beautiful beach scene, like very stylized kind of 80s sunblock ad / Stephen Fishbach jury shirt logo. And it says, congratulations, everything you need for a perfect merge is right here. And this turned out, later on, we found out it was an idol clue. And this was something I think famously DJ LaBelle Klein figured out it was an idol clue before we were told on the show that it was. But we also made some RHAP merch around this logo. And I think if you get it without the words on it, and it's just the palm tree and the birds and the sunset and the rocks, it's colorful, it's beautiful. It just inspires like relaxing beachy feelings. It's a good tattoo to get.
I like this one a lot. I love the colors on it, especially. Look, if it's good enough for a RHAP t-shirt, it's good enough for my body.
Okay.
I don't think you want to go there, Mike.
Yay!
Are you worried about Nick Wilson and or Davey walking off with you to try to find an advantage?
I think Davey's too busy twirling a stick.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a fair question, but I think we'll be okay, especially since it took them like a couple of episodes to figure out what this was.
Exactly.
Okay. All right,
good. All right, next slide, please. Bing.
Okay. Oh, Keith Nail driving a tuk-tuk.
Okay.
We are not putting a picture of Keith Nail on your body, Mike. Let's just get that out of the way. That was the original suggestion.
Hey, stick to the plan, Jess. Stick to the plan.
We had Keith Nail driving a tuk-tuk with the legend "You Call, Will Haul." And that's very funny, but I submit you could just get the tuk-tuk with the slogan or without the slogan, and that would be plenty.
If I had experience with a tuk-tuk or a toto, as it were, like if I was an amazing racer, I feel like this would be a really fun one. Like if I was Natalie Anderson, this would be a good one. If it's a combination amazing race survivor tattoo, but I'm gonna have to give Keith his extra money and then send him on his way here.
He can drive off into the sunset. Okay, funny aside, I had planned I was going to get an Amazing Race themed tattoo. And I was going to get like a globe with the legend "The World is Waiting" with like Amazing Race colors, and I had it all planned out in my head. And so I work for a travel company. And around the time I was thinking about like which artist should I call for this and how should I arrange this, one of our competitors decided to start using the slogan "The World is Waiting" for all stuff.
And
totally scuttled my plans to get a that particular tattoo. So I'm still thinking about what kind of amazing race tattoo I could get. And Phil's face is not the answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, hey, look, maybe that could be the next podcast if this is a big hit, Jess.
We got to raise a lot of money, and I don't have the kind of clout that Mike does. So I'm going to say that if that's what we're going to tie it to, it's probably never going to happen.
Okay.
Never say never.
Hey,
all right.
Jess, Amazing Race is coming back this fall.
It's true, and it could be the best season ever. We don't know. It's been in the can for 2 years.
Yeah.
Someday we'll see it.
We'll
Okay.
see.
It's like
Jess's
Jess's tattoo idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next slide. Bing. Okay.
Ooh.
This is a pretty simple idea, and this is my 5-second mock-up. But this suggestion comes from Renappy Gilmore, who says you should just get the words "worth playing for." And he says you should get it across your back. But again, we're letting you choose the placement. And honestly, I think like this would be very simple, and it's kind of, it feels like it's got a very American traditional tattoo vibe to it.
Yeah, I'm liking that from that perspective. I feel like it's a good motto as well. Like, especially when you don't include the question mark. I feel like it's affirmative, right? It's what I wanted Sauna to be in terms of being a very motivational statement. I think the one thing that's missing is some sort of like iconography to go with it. I know that this current one has like just a rose next to it, but I'm wondering if we can find something. But I like the text.
Is that a rose in bloom?
Could be.
Yes.
It's in full bloom. Honestly, that was one of my after the fact thoughts, that you should just get the legend full bloom in like Survivor font. But
yeah.
Yeah, if we could get some kind of iconography here, like you could get like your favorite immunity idol shape around this,
right?
Or
almost like, or like, you know, almost like what Sean Yannell did with Adventure of a Lifetime, like that similar type of stylization.
Yeah, I think so. And we could probably bring Sean in on this.
Yeah. I feel like though it's saying that Mike is saying that he is worth playing for, like fight for him.
Well, he could fight for himself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I look in the mirror and I say, I'm worth playing for. I'm that, you know, plate of nachos with all the fixins.
Yeah. It's
I'm no pile of pizza.
Yeah, it's like YOLO, man. It's a better spin on YOLO.
Yeah, I don't know if there could be a better spin on than YOLO.
YOLO, let's play.
Yeah, well, that's my feeling anyway, and I think Mike is responding positively. We can workshop this if this is the winner of the BrantSteele.
Is that going through?
Yeah, I'll send this through. I like the idea behind it.
All right, let's go to Samoa. Yeah, so that brings us up to an even 10, which is great news. I think if we get to the end of this and that's all you choose, which there's some real stinkers coming up on the end, I got to tell you. But I think this is a good candidate, and we'll bring Sean in if it wins the BrantSteele, and we need to work in some more Survivor iconography.
Okay.
Okay, next slide. Bing. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Several people suggested you get the phrase, "This is huge, I needed this." And honestly, the only way this is workable is if you include a picture of an idol with it, because otherwise this is just wrong, and it probably still is too wrong to use.
I needed this. Ooh. Ooh.
And
unless I do, should I do Tony's tribal tat, but shaped with the sentence, "This is huge, I needed this"?
Kind of pack the words into the shape.
Yeah,
that could be
that's
fun.
good. Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, this suggestion came from David Healy.
Naturally, the man whose name was a euphemism in itself.
Yes, indeed. Or you could like fit the words into the idol itself, like kind of shape them around this like ogre.
So that's the thing, though, is like now that we have the season 39 idol, like that's the idol I have the investment in
it's
you know,
true.
And that thing,
if you're getting an idol, that should be it.
And you can't fit any words in that.
You can't even fit a neck in it. So.
Okay. All right. So that's a pass.
That's a pass.
All right. Hard pass. Okay. Next slide. Bing. Okay. This is the wacky spaghetti plate from Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. And I will read the suggestion on this because this is about all I could think of, and I don't know if I'm actually getting it right. But Annie says, remember when Jeff Probst touted the quote-unquote wacky spaghetti reward in Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers? Just get a tattoo of a plate of spaghetti with the phrase wacky spaghetti floating around in the wackiest font. And I don't know about that, but I think like spaghetti on the gingham napkin could be very funny and attractive.
And funny attractive is my wheelhouse.
It's true. That's your vibe.
I mean, first of all, I never heard Jeff Probst actually call it the Wacky Spaghetti Reward.
Nor did I.
Where
Mike.
did Wacky Spaghetti come from?
I'm not entirely sure, guys, and I didn't rewatch this episode. I just kind of pulled this picture off the internet.
Well, I wonder maybe if it's a quote from like a Dalton Ross interview. Like, I don't think Jeff would be like, "You're going to a Wacky Spaghetti Reward."
Yeah, might tip
That's
them
not
off.
worth playing for. Well, listen, spaghetti bolognese is my favorite food of all time. But I don't know if I want that tattooed on me. Like, I'm not to that as Josh is to pizza, that it's like a part of my essence.
Yeah, there's no result on Google for Wacky Spaghetti Survivor.
Yeah, so, and even Sir Squiddington has results. So, yeah, I'm going to promptly plop this one into the jungle like Ryan Ulrich did with that glass tray and put it on the napkin instead.
Okay, fair enough. All right, going down to the great
no
guinea napkin in the sky.
Tattoo.
No wacky spaghetti.
Nope. All right, so next up, this was one of the earliest suggestions we got. I think it was before I was even doing things. Dan Snensky says you should get wrist tattoos like Denise's, but one says fast and sloppy, and one says slow and steady.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they're on my wrists, first of all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about my first one being a wrist tattoo as well. I know that you said hand tattoo is no way to go, but I don't know. That does not feel like a good pairing for me in particular.
Yeah, well, wrist tattoos don't hurt terribly much compared to other ones. So in that regard, it's okay. I feel like a lot of people get these wrist tattoos, and they could be a little trendy. So you have that to think about as well. Although the next slide is my own spin on this, which I don't think you're going to like any more than you liked this. But I think it's a funny idea. I don't think it's an idea that's cool enough that you want to put it on your body.
All right.
I think we're just creating more tattoos for Tony to put on his body.
Yeah, seriously. So here I'm going to throw back to the original Survivor Fiji with Askew on one wrist and Orthogonal on the other wrist.
If I was an architect, Jess, I would get this like in a second. But alas, I am not. And I also might run into some Rocky types who might need it to be explained. To be explained.
He might answer. Yeah.
Constantly.
You could have it say a scoot. That might help. But yeah, and also additionally, your wife says, thinking of explaining this for
I think that's a great tattoo.
Exactly. I don't know if I want the Sylvia Kwan following after this.
Your wife says, thinking of explaining this for the rest of our lives is upsetting in a very visceral way.
So
again, you're not going to have to explain it to that many people.
Yes. For the people listening in the audio podcast, so this is a version that says askew on one hand and then orthogonal on the other wrist. I believe this comes up when Sylvia comes back from Exile Island. She tells
I think
Rocky,
it's actually when she's building the shelter, when they're building the shelter in the first episode.
Oh, okay. And she tells Rocky that's looking a little askew. And he asks her, Scoot, what does that word mean? And she's like, like as it like not orthogonal.
And then Rocky, I think, says like, okay, we're gonna play a game called Explain Words to James.
Yeah. Okay.
So hard pass on that one. Next slide, please. Okay.
Ooh.
Here we have. Okay, I'm gonna let Killian McNeely's comment speak for itself here. This is a small microphone with Wendell's quote, "Put the mic down." Outside of the play on words. Yes. Outside of the play on words, Mike and Mike, this tattoo is a very simple symbol of Mike's work on Survivor and podcasts. It also has utility. If Mike's wife is ever upset that he is spending too much time podcasting, once he has this tattoo, she can just tell him to remember the tattoo.
Okay, so let me make a slight modification here, because I love this idea. Because obviously podcasting is a large part of my life, to the point where I am doing a podcast where I'm choosing my first tattoo. Could I do a variation on it? Because, again, I want to go with the messaging to tweak it. Could we instead have the microphone with it saying below it, pick the mic up?
I like the positivity there, Mike.
Because I feel like it would also imply, like, that's more so like I'm going to put this down and, like, walk away from it. But I feel like I'm the type of person that will pick the mic up many, many times to talk about things.
Now,
I will say, Mike, the mic drop is not your signature move.
Yes.
It's more the record a 4-hour podcast about something.
Exactly.
Pick the mic up. Are you concerned that large people will grab you and move you around?
I mean, then that allows me to get places easier without using Uber. So I'm fine with it.
Like the Hodors in your world. Are they going to
I think
carry you?
my immediate Hodor vicinity is going to increase quintuple after this. But that just helps things even further as long as I don't travel back in time into their past.
To see Malcolm and Jimmy T.
So I like this.
I don't need to be carried, bro.
So I like this. I think that, again, it's like Survivor adjacent enough, and that's the exact opposite of the phrase, but it applies to my current lifestyle as well. So yeah, I'm totally game for this one.
Score you a lot of points with Wendell too, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a very workable idea, and it's RHAPy, and I like that there's a RHAP connection too.
Yeah. Is it mic down or mic up?
I'm going with mic up. I have microphone with pick the mic up is going to Samoa.
Okay, mic up.
And ideas up as well.
Yep. And true story, I have this bell tattoo on my wrist, and my 3-year-old son likes to come over and like hit the button and make me say bing.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll do it over and over again. And sometimes if he hits the bell part, I make the noise like.
So what you're saying is there's a chance that people might want to talk into my tattoo at a certain point.
Yeah, so be careful where you put it.
Like, is this thing on?
Tap, 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 tap. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a feature, not a bug.
Mm-mm. All right.
All right, next slide, please. Bing.
Okay. Oh,
okay.
Your kid on your socks.
Okay.
This one comes again from Puya Zanvikili, who says, my one other idea that I had is relatively straightforward, thankfully. It is a sock with pictures of baby Asher on it. He'll have his kid on his socks.
Puya,
you're
one
your
for two.
Calf. Yeah.
I don't know if I want sock tattoos. My wife has a big pet peeve with my socks because I like to wear like pretty long socks and pull them up. So I look like a huge ass goober. Like she is very embarrassed by it. So I don't think putting that permanently on my body, it would be done only to spite her. And I don't want a spite tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, spite is never a good reason to get a tattoo.
No, I mean, I'll opt for Asher Bloom socks. I will wear the heck out of those. But I don't know.
Father's Day is coming this weekend.
Exactly. And I don't know if these socks, though, will translate to a tattoo form. Like, I don't know anyone. Do we know anyone who has tattooed socks?
I don't think so.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I also hear that.
That's a pass.
Yeah, I also say I hear foot tattoos are a little, I don't know, taboo.
Yeah, don't get anything on your feet. That hurts. And again, it doesn't last very long. So yeah, I think it's a fun idea. It's certainly creative and unique, but I think you should just get the actual socks.
Okay. All right.
Is that a better option than no tattoo? Like instead of no tattoo, the answer is just buy socks instead?
Buy socks? Is that in addition to no tattoos?
No, I think it's instead of.
That's an interesting idea that you get the design, whatever design, I don't know, comes in second or something on the socks and wear the socks.
Yeah, that could work. It's like when you spin the wheel of fish smoothies and you get mango.
Exactly. Or you get the chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Or the apple slice.
Sir Squiddington on socks would go great also.
That's another great idea.
All right, should get those fast tracking those to the RHAP store.
I like that idea. I like that idea. If we can do a modification, because I think from that perspective, I would say no tattoo makes the cast, but no tattoo is in the form of put whatever finishes as the runner-up on socks, and I will wear those socks proudly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm typing that in. Socks instead of a tattoo, featuring the runner-up.
As we know, the only alternative to a tattoo is socks.
I think it is now, Mike.
They're exact opposites, much like Askew and Orthogonal.
Exactly. Well, there you go. You can have tattoo on one wrist and socks on the other. All right, next slide, please, Rob. Bing. Okay, this is my suggestion.
Lemon tree.
Ooh, Yao Man found the lemon tree.
Yeah, it's more of a Survivor historian's tattoo than a Survivor tattoo, but I thought it would at least be attractive and would not require excessive explanation.
Could you give the explanation here, though?
So this is actually from the first episode of Survivor Fiji as well, where Askew and Non-Orthogonal came from. There's one random soundbite that Mario Lanza is obsessed with, where somebody comes back to camp, and you randomly hear Yao Man embrace somebody in the background, and he says, "I found a lemon tree," and that's it. And it's just this little thing that Mario caught up on, and of course, Shut Up Tim, who was our editor at the time, took it and promptly beat it into the ground, into the mantle, into the core of the earth, and out the other side. So it's become a big historian's joke. It also ends up being part of my favorite Simpsons episode of all time, which is Lemon of Troy. So it does have more appeal than you initially might think as a Survivor reference.
Yeah, I that was something that Angela brought to my attention as well, that she felt like it was more of a Simpsons tattoo than a Survivor tattoo. But the use in Survivor historians, I remember vividly listening to that episode, and then you guys signed off and there was 10 minutes left on the file. And that 10 minutes was just Yellman saying over and over, I found a lemon tree, I found a lemon tree, I found a lemon tree.
Yeah, so I don't know if I wanted it associated with that, but the Simpsons fan in me makes me want to put this on the maybe pile. To bury this tree in maybe land for now.
I am putting it there. You're not totally sour on the idea.
Exactly.
Okay, good enough. Next slide, please, Rob.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Sia money / a chicken with a Sia hairdo. Back to chickens.
Yeah,
Damn.
there was another chicken made it in. And I feel like this is not necessarily a face of a living person, but it also does kind of fall into the rubric of living human beings in their likeness on a tattoo. Like, I'm sure Sia is a fine person and obviously a Survivor super fan, but what if you get this tattoo and next week she gets canceled?
And I think Sia would be too shy to sign off on her own face being tattooed on somebody else.
You would probably not be the first person to get it. You might be the first person to get it on a chicken.
That's true. That does have some ingenuity to it. Yeah, and I gotta admit, I'm not as big of a fan of Sia's music that I could like pass it off as being a Sia fan. You know, the explanation of almost secondhand Sia fan of, well, Sia is a meme on Survivor because of the money she gives to contestants. It's almost like a little bit too much of a connection here, though I do like the picture of Sia on a $100 bill in this presentation. I
think this would be a good design for socks.
That's gonna be an interesting sock, but I also don't want to put it in the cast with the chance of putting it on socks. So yeah, I'm gonna put the nicks on it.
Yeah, I figured as much.
And the
I did not have high hopes for the Sia chicken.
Okay.
All right.
All right. No
We're
Sia.
getting down to the end of it.
Okay.
Okay, next tattoo, Rob. This is just this is again a Dan Snensky submission, and it is just the word non-transferable.
Do you think Troyzan has gotten this one yet, or is it in his wheelhouse? Like, is it on the docket for him?
It seems like it's up his alley. If he already had it, then that would disqualify it, wouldn't it?
Does he have a lot of tattoos, Troyzan?
I don't think so. I don't remember if he's got them or not.
I mean, I think, what would he have? He'd have like a camera, a monkey.
Yeah.
Those are his main two. Maybe something from Game Changers.
Yeah, he's known for other features.
I mean, I hate you guys for making me look at all these shirtless pictures of Troyzan, but I don't see any tattoos on him.
Yeah.
I'm not too big on non-transferable. I feel like this also, again, if I'm looking to write words on me, I want it to be sort of affirmative to sort of inform who I am. And I don't know. I don't think of myself as non-transferable. If anything, I'm always I'm transferable AF.
So is the word transferable an option?
Transferable AF.
Transferable, I don't know. I don't want it stamped on me like I'm some sort of cargo.
Fragile, non-fragile.
Okay. Well, yeah, this one's a hard no, I think. Next up.
Oh.
Right. This is the RHAP B&B sign.
See, I feel like...
For the podcast listeners, that is a literal sign, as if you were going to pull up in front of the RHAP B&B.
So I feel like this almost manifests itself in the soup idea. And if I had to choose between like a BAB affiliated idea between this and the soup, I'd rather take the soup. So from that perspective, I'm going to say no, just because there's a better B&B idea that is slightly in the mix at this point.
Yeah, I will say I couldn't make this work in a way that I was happy with, but one of the suggestions I was going to make was just a little line of various noticeable hats. Like you'd have the beanie and like the fedora, and I went so far as to have Liana send me the original Imgur file with all the noticeable hats in it, and I was going to just like do a little like fancy little twee sketch of 5 different little noticeable hats in a row.
If I become a haberdasher, I think that would have been a fun one as well.
Well, sure. Like if you are a haberdasher, do all of your tattoos have to have hats?
I mean, I can imagine you sort of like are what you, I don't know. Do you bring your work with you in a manner of speaking?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you just can never escape it.
I suppose so. But yeah, the noticeable hats, maybe that's a different idea. Maybe if I ended up getting someone's face on me one day, maybe they'll have a noticeable hat depending on who the person is. And apparently it's going to be Boston Robber Malcolm, according to these people.
I feel like, Mike, you really don't want a portrait of a living person. So you could go with Abraham Lincoln. He has a noticeable hat.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And Rob known for a hat, Malcolm not as much.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't even like that hat. That little B&B hat.
What if you just got a Boston Rob hat that instead of a B on it had a B&B?
Oh,
it's
the Red Sox
hat.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
It's a noticeable hat that says B&B.
That's true, though I am not a baseball fan. And I feel like that's not necessarily, like if I was a baseball fan, I feel like that would have everything that I would need. But I think that's an interesting idea. That is an interesting idea.
I don't even like the Boston Red Sox.
Honestly, if we ever come out with B&B merchandise, that might be like the first way we go without getting sued by the Major League Baseball.
I can make it different enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work on that.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we have our final slide in the presentation. And then we'll have to go back to our drawing board here. This is the first one I made, and I wasn't really trying to be like accurate with it. I was just kind of drawing. So this is an American traditional banner with "Turn out to me nice" written in script and a nice little flower there.
Beautiful.
And now that Sugar has become like so active on Twitter, how do you think she would respond to this, Rob?
I don't know. I think she'd be confused. I think that would be
I don't think she remembers that this happened.
Yeah, I don't think she remembers. The relations with Sugar and RHAP have warmed greatly. I should tell T-Bird to look her up and see if she wants to.
They went from sour to slightly sweet on the
Sugar
scale
I've run
here.
into her a few times in the last couple of years. She's very friendly, very positive.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure she was the last real finale that we went to in season 39. I'm pretty sure she was at that after party.
Yes, no, I have a good relationship with Sugar. She felt slighted for things like in ancient history of the podcast, and I don't even remember what she was taking exception to.
I'm pretty sure it was a tabloid article about her, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know what we had said something on the podcast, and then she tweeted a picture of her with was it Dermot Mulrooney
or Joella McDermott?
Yes,
aren't they
one
the
of
same
those
person?
guys. One of those guys. And she was upset, and so she said like, "Well, turn out to me nice."
Oh man, so this is a fun little like RHAP-ism, but I don't know how right it feels on me.
Well, it's affirming, Mike. It's a positive slogan. It's also, I mean, again, maybe this is more of a Josh Wigler tattoo.
I agree.
I also remember when this originally dropped, I remember Josh Wigler like making this little beat. Like,
it was it was the first week of Survivor Worlds Apart. I could tell you, and I mean, Josh Wigler was on the feedback show, and there was something that was said on that podcast that upset Sugar.
Interesting. Well, that's the other thing as well, and this sort of takes me back to like the Dan Foley Outwit, Outplay, Outlast. Is I also don't want something that people will look at and think was a mistake from the tattoo artist. I want to like value their work, and so I'd maybe like creating a purposeful typo is not the best way to showcase their work.
It's a good point. When my son was born, they misspelled his name on his birth certificate, and I thought for a hot second it would be hilarious to get his name tattooed on me as Geogre, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't want people thinking the tattoo artist messed up.
Right, exactly. So I want to honor this person's work who decides to follow me down this outrageous rabbit hole. So I am going to send this to the Sugar Shack, which means to Exile Island.
Okay. Well,
All
with
right.
that, out of our 36 suggestions, you chose 1/3 of them.
Okay, that's not a bad ratio.
It's not bad, but we don't have enough for a workable Survivor season. We are still 4 short, but we do have in the waiting room.
Yes.
We have 6 workable solutions.
Okay.
So we could put all the babies through to Samoa and have an 18-person season, or we could bring in 4 of them and have a 16-person season.
Why don't you read the maybes, and then I can cut 2.
Okay, and then
All right.
let me just add the so the tweet from Sugar was clapping back from something that was said on the podcast on February 24th, 2015. If you want to see the I don't even remember what she was referring to, but she said, "Dear @RHAP, I think you missed this one about me acting for years before the show. Turned out to me nice."
Was it a picture of her in the tabloids? I can't remember.
Yes, it's a picture of her Survivor Babes steamy romp with Mentalist hunk.
Oh, so it wasn't. No, it was a Simon Baker then, right?
Oh, Simon
That's
Baker.
not even close to Dermot Mulrooney.
Whatever. Who cares?
He's like the third. He's like the third off-brand Dermot, Dylan, etc. universe.
I always think of him as like Dollar Store McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
Would you get Dollar Store McConaughey as a tattoo?
No, I'd probably get Dollar Store Cochran instead.
Dollar Store Cochran?
That's what I consider myself at this
you.
point.
Yeah, we had a podcast once where we decided that you and I... No, it wasn't even a podcast. We were just drunk together.
Yeah.
And we decided that we were Dollar Store Cochran and Cass.
All right. Okay.
All right. So let's go back to the maybes, and I'll let you know what those are. We have 6 maybes. We have Soup. We have Sir Squiddington.
Well, I think I can go back, and if you want to re-look at any of the
yeah, let's go down memory lane.
Okay.
Yep, go back up to Soup.
All right, that's Soup.
There's Soup. Then we have Sir Squiddington. And Rob, that is, I can find the slide number for you, if that's helpful.
There it is.
I know they're in order, so
21.
I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so there's Sir Squiddington. We have Llama in a speech bubble, or some representation of speaking llama.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You could have the llama with the speech bubble coming out of his mouth. That kind of clears up a lot of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
You have the upside down U. You have the crocodile, and you have a lemon tree.
Okay. So
and the lemon
tree.
Okay. So the 2 I'm thinking of cutting, I'd probably cut the crocodile.
Okay.
Just because it feels like we didn't really come up with an idea around it necessarily. So I'm fine with that. Okay. And the other ones, we have the Soup. We have
Jordan Kalish cries as any reference to Survivor Guatemala is officially out of contention.
That's true. So we have the Soup. We have what were the other 3?
We have Soup, Sir Squiddington, Llama Speech Bubble, Upside Down U, and Lemon Tree.
Okay, so I'm between Llama Speech and Upside Down U. I would love to hear both of your thoughts about which. I want to cut one of those. Which one should I cut?
Well, honestly, Upside Down U was just me crap posting in the Bloomtats hashtag. I didn't get very much buy into that. I can look up. I'll tell you how many people thought that was a good idea. It was not very many. And I don't want you to feel beholden to having a whole bunch of my ideas. I feel like there are too many of my ideas in there anyway. So I would advocate for, I got 104 likes on this picture.
Which one? The U or
the upside
llama?
down U?
Yeah. To me, I feel like that there is more that you could do with the speaking llama. I don't like this particular interpretation of the speaking llama. If the speech bubble was coming out of the llama, maybe I would like that more. But this to me is almost like if I wasn't looking carefully, I wouldn't really get what this is of the speech bubble with the llama inside it.
Interesting. Yeah, so maybe it's this idea of I would put speaking llama on the cast, maybe under the condition that we look at the redesign of it possibly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an issue with all of the remaining suggestions is you will want the artist to weigh in and put their own spin on it.
Yeah.
The upside so you want to get a good artist.
I agree. Also, it's why Mike Bloom? Why this tattoo? Does he have some particular affinity or association with Survivor 35 or Ben or this challenge or something?
Yeah, I mean, you and I would find it funny, Rob, but I don't know how many other people would.
Yeah, so all right. So I was skewing the same way. I was skewing in the same way as well. So I'll keep the llama and I'll ditch. So the 2 I'm getting rid of are Upside Down U and Crocodile Scumbags.
Okay. So great. So we have 16. This is a workable BrantSteele.
Oh my goodness!
All right, now
and you'll have to decide which season you want to do.
Now, no tattoo is right now not in the cast.
It is but it's instead of a tattoo, you get socks.
Okay, but he just gets a pair of socks.
Yes,
so
and he has to wear them to the next event.
Yes, and the socks would have the image of the person who came in second. Because remember, this is the one who wins the season. So whoever finishes the runner-up will get their image adorned on socks that I will non-permanently wear.
Mm-hmm. You should have to wear the socks.
Yeah, you don't have to wear them every day, Mike. That would be gross. And Angela is already against this entire thing, so I don't want to make her even more angry.
Exactly. But you know what? That being said, I think we came up with, I'm excited about this cast. I think it's a palatable enough cast. I think with some tweaking, I would be excited to have really any of these 15 and the socks on my body. Like, I think we came out with a pretty good result here.
I think so. So to summarize, I'll go down the list again. For this cast, we have the Survivor Mashup logo. We have the Fleur-de-lis. We have the 5-piece puzzle. We have Sean's awesome torch design. We have Mike's season 39 immunity idol. We have Outwit, Outplay, Outlast in a Survivory font band around your arm. We have the Dharma Survivor mashup. We have the Spotify code or QR code. We'll figure it out if it wins. We have the season 37 merge feast note. We have the legend worth playing for. We have a microphone with the slogan "Pick the mic up." We have socks instead of a tattoo featuring the runner-up image. We have soup. We have Sir Squiddington. We have some representation of the concept of speaking llama, and we have a lemon tree.
I feel good. I walked into this very trepidatious.
Yes.
But I think we were able to we milked our own milk in a manner of speaking and got to like some good ideas.
How good do you feel? Do you want 2 tattoos?
Let's not push it. Okay. Second one will have to be Malcolm related, if anything.
Jess, are we waiting to hear back from Angela on approval on any of these tattoos?
I think we will cross the bridge when we get to it. Let's run the BrantSteele. Let's get a winner. And then let's collaborate with Angela to make sure she is comfortable with the design.
I also think that Angela herself said that she wanted to contribute to the design as well. She designed all of her tattoos that she has. So I think she wants a hand in it quite literally, whatever the final, unless it's someone like Sean, who I think has provided some absolutely incredible designs for whatever the final may be.
Okay. Mike, have you had a Survivor season in mind that you want to run this BrantSteele through?
I mean, it's going to be tough because with only 16 players, and if we want to incorporate some modern aspects, our only 2 options are really Tocantins and China. So I guess we're just going to have to pick it there. I guess Tocantins might be the easiest one. We're not worried too much about tribe divisions, but I can imagine that's, the way to go. We can go to like Exile Tattoo Parlor to send people. Like there could be some fun runners there.
Mike, would you like to be in charge of making the tribes?
Yeah, I got it. I'll make sure all the pre-existing relationships between these tattoos are promptly separated, so nobody tries to raise a fuss about it.
Okay, all right. Make the tribes even.
Yeah, I'll make sure that the athleticism is also, I want to make sure nobody's oolonged here on this tattoo Survivor season.
Okay.
Are we gonna have to are you gonna have to play with the BrantSteele stats that we never touch?
We'll see. I don't know. I'll have to determine, Sir Squiddington, how, deceptive is he?
Very deceptive.
Well, we don't know whether he's a knight or in the traditional sense or in the,
he has a top hat and a monocle. You can't trust him.
Last time I played like a knight. This time I'm playing like a dandy.
Yes. Okay. All right. Jess, is there anything else that we need to do before our next conversation?
I will need to email, or I'll just share this Bloomtats Finals document with you and Mike. And I'm going to retweet the image of the torch that Sean made that's in the running. And then I guess we'll wait for Mike to divide the tribes and schedule a time to run this BrantSteele.
Okay. All right. So, Mike, thank you for being such a great sport about all of this. This is very exciting.
I'm really excited, and thank you for giving us the opportunity. Listen, the off season.
Don't thank me. First off, let's thank the listeners who listened to 2.5 hours of speculation and scuttlebutt about what tattoo you were going to get on your body.
No, I'm not getting it above my scuttlebutt, Rob, just to make sure.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, the listeners made this possible in every sense of the way, both submitting the ideas, getting us here in the first place. And, I hope they're satisfied with the season that's going to come out of it. I'm very excited for what's to come. These are decisions I look back on my life and say, I can't believe that I actually did that. And I think this is certainly going to be top tier, in my opinion. And we haven't even gotten to the really big part yet. But I feel like what we've already done so far is a feat in podcasting.
Okay. And of course, Jess, thank you for the incredible work you did putting all of these suggestions together, curating through all of the wheat and the chaff that were sent in for this project.
Well, look, I didn't want Mike to get stuck with something that he was going to regret. And believe me, at least 90 of the 150 suggestions we got would be things that no human wants on their body. So I'm glad to have been able to help him vet it and to have contributed whatever I contributed to shaping what this ultimately is.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. So anything else? Mike, do we have time for everything you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, outside of just regretting my life choices, I would say that, the Down the Hatch Lost Rewatch podcast, Top Chef podcast, Liana and I have joined you on our Survivor Rewatch series, just talked about season 4, episode 3 of Marquesas with the great Akiva Winokur. We are covering the season that has apparently the creepiest torch snuffer of all time, season 29, episode 4 of Survivor, the Drew Christie downfall, this coming week on the B&B. Outside of that, just doing other stuff at parade.com, and I'm sure some other shenanigans. I don't know if it'll be on this level. This might be peak shenanigans, but it's a brilliant view from the top. So I cannot wait to see where we go from here.
Okay. And Jess, how about you?
Well, I'm working half-time at my day job. The site I write for has scaled back the amount of things they publish, so they don't take many of my pitches. And I'm basically just drawing demented tattoo ideas in my parents' basement and occasionally going outside to take care of my 25 tomato plants. It's a pretty sad life around here.
Okay. Wow. How many tomato plants?
I planted 25 seeds and they all came up. So we have them all in pots all over the backyard, and we are going to have so many tomatoes this year. It's going to be like the end of that Jonathan Penner movie where they bury all the bodies under the tomatoes.
That's going to be a great sauce for your wacky spaghetti dinner.
Nobody throws tomatoes at one of my films.
It was a good movie. It was like the thing that launched Cameron Diaz's career, so can't really sneeze at that. But yeah, I'm going to have so much sauce. It's going to be some wacky spaghetti up in here.
Okay, wacky spaghetti indeed. All right. Thank you all for listening to this. This was great fun. We got a lot of stuff coming up here on the podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Jess was even tweeting about my recent interview with Dalton Ross, where we talked about the oral history of the dragons. That is up at Rob has a website. .com. Of course, also all this podcasting made possible by the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast, whose contributions for charity helped contribute to how we got here today. If you would like to know more about becoming a part of the Rob Has a Podcast patron community, head on over to robhasawebsite.com/patron. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.